Full Metal Storm, Battle of the Machines. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 745, Raising the Signal Smoke. In the next 2 days, Luo Yan successively taught Yang Hao the Blood Transformation Sutra and Yang Tao and Liu the Zhaoshan Yang Qigong. After teaching Yang Tao that day, Luo Yan watched her practice and corrected her problems from time to time. After Yang Tao practiced for 1 week, he slowly stopped. She is just a beginner now and can only practice 1 week. When she practices to the 3rd level, the meridians and acupoints in her body will be nourished and expanded by the Yuan Li and can accommodate more Yuan Li, and she will be able to practice 7 weeks in one breath. At that time, her practice speed and efficiency will become faster and faster. This method is upright and does not focus on hurting the enemy. It only focuses on nourishing Yuan Qi and strengthening the physique. However, it is different from watching mountains and seas. It is from the inside out, and compared with the physique, it focuses more on allowing the body to accommodate more Yuan Li. After finishing the practice, Yang Tao looked at Luo Yan and said, "Huh, teacher, your eyes don't seem to be so red anymore. When infected with red poison, the stronger the toxin, the brighter the eyes will be." Luo Yan was infected for the 2nd time, and his red eyes were as red as if they were about to drip blood. But in the past few days, while passing on his skills, he has already started practicing the Golden Chamber record. It has been somewhat effective, and some of the red poison has been expelled, so the color of his eyes is not as bright red as before. When the red poison is completely expelled, perhaps Luo Yan's eyes will return to their normal brown color. In addition to the change in the color of his eyes, Luo Yan also found that after the red poison was expelled, his cultivation speed seemed to have increased a little. He searched for some information inside the Black Witch and found the reason. According to the records of the internal information of the Black Witch, the red poison will affect the absorption of the human body's energy and interfere with the speed of absorbing energy. Therefore, when Luo Yan began to expel the red poison, his cultivation speed increased. According to this sign, when the red poison is completely expelled, his cultivation speed should be about 10% to 20% faster than before. It doesn't look like much, but it's actually very considerable. Starting from the advanced realm, it takes several months to improve one level of realm. If the speed is increased by 10% to 20%, it can at least shorten the cultivation time by 10 days and a half months. However, Luo Yan didn't mention the secondary infection to Yang Tao, so Luo Yan didn't respond to her words. Instead, he said, "Get ready and come back to the underground city with me tomorrow." Yang Tao said, "Teacher, do I not have to stay on the surface?" Luo Yan shook his head. "Next, I hope you can calm down and practice the Zhaoshan Yang Qigong. I will find some medicine to assist you in your practice. You can only really help me when you practice to the advanced level. For Luo Yan now, a Yang Tao at the intermediate level is dispensable. Only when he reaches the advanced level can he play a role." Yang Tao nodded and said, "I will listen to you, teacher." So the next day, Luo Yan took Yang Tao back to Guangling. Back to Jude Building, Yang Tao still missed it after being away for half a year. Seeing Lei Qi and the 2 women, he gave them a big hug. After settling Yang Tao, Luo Yan returned to the academy. At this time, the summer vacation was coming to an end. On this day, after seeing off Shenbei and Zhang Yi, Luo Yan received a call for the court to gather. Bei, Liu Ruohan and others also received a call. So they simply took a car together and went to the Guangling Mecha Core. In the car, Xiaoping looked at the notification on his phone. "I wonder what the core suddenly called us for." Liu Ruohan held her chin with her hand and said, "It should have nothing to do with the underground city. Have you noticed that, since the disaster in Pingyao City, the Yanfu space has become much more peaceful in the next few months?" Bei nodded and said, "I haven't seen a giant beast in the whole summer vacation. I'm really a little uncomfortable." Xiaoping laughed. "Isn't this a good thing? I was thinking that one day all the giant beasts on the earth would run away. That would be great." Liu Ruohan put down her hand. turned around and said, I hope so, but the frequency of giant beast activities has obviously increased a lot before. Why did it suddenly drop in the past few months? I always feel that this is not a good thing. Xiaoping heard her say this, and there was some haze between his brows. In a blink of an eye, the core headquarters arrived. When the few people got off the car, they saw an off-road vehicle belonging to the core passing by them, and stopped not far in front. Hiheo and Su Jiu, both in uniform, got out of the car. Hiheo glanced at Luo Yan and said, I thought you were missing. I haven't seen you this summer. Then, without waiting for Luo Yan's response, he said, don't dawdle. Come with me. The Giant Beast Strategic Office has issued a combat commission. Luo Yan and his companions followed, all of them looking confused. Xiaoping asked directly, what is a combat commission? Su Jiu smiled and explained, in simple terms, the Giant Beast Strategic Office has no time to withdraw from the battle, but the battle is not difficult enough to dispatch dragon riders. Therefore, a certain combat plan is issued and entrusted to the underground city that is capable of solving it, so that the mecha core belonging to the underground city can participate in the combat matters according to their actual situation. Hiheo walked quickly and said, this combat commission should be related to Gifa City. Luo Yan remembered that before he left the underground city to attend the captain's meeting of the Zuanming department, there was already news of the attack on Gifa City. Now that the summer vacation is almost over, Gifa City has not been taken down yet. It didn't take that long to attack the Misty Canyon at that time. Su Jiu seemed to know what Luo Yan was thinking, and smiled. This is different from attacking the Misty Canyon. We are attacking the Misty Canyon because the owner of the canyon is evolving into a nightmare level behemoth, and the forbidden area may evolve into a GD. So the task is heavy and the time is urgent, so we must do everything we can, even if we have to make sacrifices, to take it down as soon as possible. Hiheo said in front, there is no such situation in Gifa City, so the strategic mansion did not attack it recklessly. Instead, we will take steady steps, clean up Gifa City step by step, and move towards the core area. After this period of hard work, the safe area and some dangerous areas of Gifa City are already under control. The rest will be delegated to the dungeons willing to participate in the battle in the form of combat commissions. As they spoke, they came to the core operations room. In the hall, the mecha divisions from various teams were basically present. Luo Yan and others separated and sat down at their respective positions. A moment later, Xing Feng, chief of staff of the core, walked in. The middle-aged man came to the stage, coughed dryly, looked around and said, everyone should know the purpose of calling you together this time. Yes. The strategic house has delegated a combat commission for the attack on Gifa City. Those who participate in the battle can obtain basic contribution points issued by the strategic house. And after the battle, corresponding rewards will be issued according to each person's performance in the battle. At the same time, the strategic house will open up the exchange items of Tanksa and realm exercises, secret techniques, combat skills, and unique skills to the core belonging to the underground city. As for whether you can exchange them, it depends on your performance. However, the strategic house promises that this opening will be permanent, and in the future, more combat commissions will be delegated. I believe everyone knows what this means. Yes. Xing Feng's eyes were serious. This means that humans will raise the smoke of war to fight back against the behemoths. Chapter 746 Resident Obligations. On the high platform, Xing Feng waited for everyone to digest the news before smiling and saying, the combat commission that has been delegated is based on the principle of voluntary participation. Everyone can freely decide whether to participate. But there is one thing that needs to be explained. Considering the convenience of command, the participation in the combat commission will be based on teams. Therefore, you can discuss it yourself after the meeting and decide whether your team will participate in this battle by the majority rule. In addition, those who really don't want to participate can temporarily withdraw from the team and reincorporate into the original team after the battle is over. One thing to note is that the minimum number of people in each team must not be less than 3. Xing Feng also talked about some details of the combat commission, such as the exchange content opened by the strategic mansion will be sent to each team for reference later. Soon, the meeting ended. Everyone returned to their respective team lounges. In the lounge of the fourth team of the third shift, Captain Yan Wenbo yawned, and the black circle around his eyes seemed more obvious than before. He didn't rush to let everyone express their opinions. He patted Luo Yan on the shoulder first. Xiao Luo came back just in time this time. If he had come back later, he might have missed this battle. Luo Yan nodded. Yan Wenbo then looked around and said, "So, among us, those who have been to Gifa City, raise your hands." Luo Yan immediately raised his hand. The actual combat in the forbidden area was carried out in Gifa City. Luo Yan still couldn't forget the scene in the second grade, when a mecha was invaded and controlled by Gifa. In addition to Luo Yan, only Kang Shun raised his hand. Du Hu Changxin and Beidou remained silent. Yan Wenbo nodded and smiled. Then, let Xiao Luo and Kang Shun introduce us to the situation in Gifa City. Luo Yan thought for a while and said concisely, "The danger zone is very strange. Once you enter the danger zone, it is possible that the mecha will be controlled by the ubiquitous Gifa. The principle is still unknown. That's it." He felt that the most important thing to pay attention to in Gifa City, as far as he knew, was this. Yan Wenbo looked at Kang Shun, who nodded and said, "I once participated in the investigation of Gifa City. We entered the danger zone at that time. In the danger zone, you will encounter a kind of monster woven into a human form by hair. Some of them are as big as normal humans, and some are almost as big as mechs. When you meet them, never look into their eyes." At that time, one of my team members made eye contact with those monsters and turned into a vegetable. Yan Wenbo raised his eyebrows. "Lost consciousness?" Kang Shun nodded. "Yes, consciousness was gone all of a sudden. When he was sent back to the camp for treatment, it was found that his brain waves were abnormal, just like a vegetable." Du Hu Changxin suddenly said, "I remember that the overlord beast of Gifa City has a characteristic of soul capture. The ecology of the Forbidden Land is affected by the overlord beast, and the monsters you sent out reflect this point." The information of the master of Gifa City flashed in Luo Yan's mind. Codename, Dang Hu. Level, Overlord level 4. Type, Feathered insect. Features, shadow manipulation, puppet control, beard weaving, mind reading, soul capture. Weakness, unknown. Yan Wenbo coughed dryly. "In short, no matter which forbidden area, it is quite dangerous. Otherwise it would not be called forbidden area. So, if anyone doesn't want to go, just say it. As for me, I plan to participate. I'm not young anymore, and my talent is pretty average. Anyway, I can't compare with Xiao Luo and Xiao Bei. I'm not going to Gifa City for the unique skills this time. I want to earn some contribution points in exchange for money. If the money is enough, I will serve for another year or two, and then apply to the Corps for retirement. Don't laugh at me, I'm quite afraid of death. If one day I have to die, I hope to die among women, not in the belly of a giant beast." No one will laugh at Yan Wenbo. Fear of death is the nature of living things, and everyone is like this. It is precisely because of fear that those heroes who face death with indifference deserve respect. After the captain expressed his opinion, Kang Shun raised his hand and said awkwardly, "Everyone, I won't join this trip. There are some things I need to deal with at home recently, and I really can't get away." Yan Wenbo said directly, "It doesn't matter. Marriage is a major event in life. Even if you say you want to join, I will withdraw you. Just get married quickly, and then work hard to hold a big fat boy next year." Luo Yan and others immediately looked at Kang Shun, who looked helpless. "Captain, do you have to say this? It's too embarrassing." "What's embarrassing?" Yan Wenbo said with a smile. "Men should get married when they are old enough, and women should get married when they are old enough. Leaving incense for your old Kang family is much more important than going to the forbidden area. Don't you agree?" Luo Yan nodded seriously. "Natural disasters have brought heavy losses to mankind and too many people have died. So now, the underground city has a hard target for residents. Every resident who reaches the age of marriage must get married and contribute to the survival of mankind. If there is no suitable marriage partner, men need to donate their essence. If women are still unmarried at a certain age, the underground city will randomly select the stored essence in the essence library for in vitro fertilization. The entire process of cultivation, including the information of the mother, will be protected for privacy. However, this item is enforced and is considered an obligation of residents. If you refuse, your resident status will be revoked and you will be expelled from the city. By the way, because of the special status of mecha masters, both men and women do not have to fulfill this obligation. It's just that the underground city still hopes that the mecha masters can get married. After all, being a mecha master is an advantage over ordinary people. Their genes should be continued. At this time. Congratulations, Brother Kang. Bei clasped his hands together, feeling happy for Kang Shun from the bottom of his heart. Dugu Changson also said, when are you getting married? If you can make it, I want to ask for a glass of wedding wine. October. Kang Shun scratched his head a little embarrassedly. The next month will be very busy, otherwise, I would also like to go with you. Dugu Changson said, don't go, just stay at home and prepare well. Everyone congratulated Kang Shun. Luo Yan was no exception, and Kang Shun invited everyone to attend his wedding when the time comes. So, soon the third class and fourth group made a decision. Except for Kang Shun, everyone else will participate in this combat commission. Back to the car of the academy. Are you going to participate in the Battle of Gifa City? Xiaoping said excitedly. Among the exchange items open this time, there are also skills of Tangsuan realm. I must participate. Luo Yang nodded and looked at him blankly. We will also participate. Xiaoping looked at Liu Ruohan. She had been silent since getting in the car, and now she felt Xiaoping's gaze. She sighed and said, I called my family to consult their opinions, and they don't want me to participate. Chapter 747, Expelling the Cuva Poison. Having been classmates for such a long time, although they were not in the same grade, Luo Yang had also heard from Yang Lixi that Liu Ruohan's family was not simple. Her father, Liupo, was a big businessman like Luo Xianai, but not as big as Luo Xianai and Huang Yuanhang. However, the Liu family also had a lot of industries, including security companies, train operations, and so on. As the two business tycoons, Luo Xianai and Huang Yuanhang, were successively arrested, the businesses of the two families were gradually divided up by other people. During this period, the Liu family benefited a lot, and the industrial chain expanded a lot. While the family was big and prosperous, the Liu family had only Liu Ruohan as an only daughter, which showed how much the family valued her. For such a family, it was quite open-minded to let Liu Ruohan study at the Mecha Academy and even become a reserve pilot. Luo Yan could completely understand why Liu Ruohan was not allowed to go to the forbidden area to participate in the combat commission. Xiaoping also said, it's okay. Didn't you hear from Staff Officer Zheng that there will be many similar operation commissions in the future, and you will have plenty of opportunities to participate? Liu Ruohan smiled, but her mind was echoing with what her father said on the phone. After graduation, the family business needs your help. At that time, you can retire as a mecha master. The girl shook her head and fell into silence again. Bei saw that the atmosphere in the car was a little solemn, so he said, there is also a mecha master in our team who will not participate, but he is preparing for the wedding. Ruohan, aren't you dating Yang Lixi? When do you plan to get married? Liu Ruohan smiled and said, it's too early. Now I'm still in the probation period for that guy. Marriage can't be a joke. I have to think carefully about the person I want to entrust my life to. You are the same, Bei. When talking about marriage, you have to think carefully. After saying that, she glanced at Luo Yan. Bei lowered her head, pinching the corner of her clothes with both hands and said, you are still early, then I'm even earlier. I don't have a partner yet. At this time, Xiaoping bumped Luo Yan with his elbow, gave Luo Yan a look that said everything is self-evident, and then laughed dryly. Luo Yan certainly knew that he was encouraging him to pursue Bei. Thinking of the time when he was infected for the second time, Bei tried her best to save him. Luo Yan was indeed moved. After getting along with this girl until now, how could Luo Yan not know that she had a good impression of him? It's just that he didn't dare to respond to this feeling. After all, he was infected with the red poison for the second time before, and he didn't know when he would die. But now, He is already practicing golden chamber record, and after a while, he can completely expel the red poison. Luo Yan was thinking, should he seriously consider it and then respond to Bei? When thinking about this, he naturally looked at the girl, and Bei looked up at him. The two people's eyes met for a moment, and then they withdrew like lightning, and then they looked in different directions, with embarrassed expressions on their faces. Liu Ruohan smiled, and saw it in her eyes, but didn't point it out. In this kind of situation, the person involved must break through the window paper himself. It would be bad if outsiders intervened. Beep, beep. The phone rang with a text message. Liu Ruohan opened it, and found that it was from Yang Lixi. Baby, is the meeting over? You don't want to participate in the combat commission, do you? Listen to me and don't go. Baby, you are already very good. You don't need to prove yourself through such things. Baby, you are the best, Muah. Messages were delivered one after another, and Liu Ruohan rolled her eyes. A few days later, in the mecha carrier, Luo Yan was meditating in his room. He was running the golden chamber record, and a trace of red breath was emanating from the capillaries all over his body. The breath rose, so that it seemed as if a red cloud was hovering above Luo Yan's head. When the last wisp of red breath unwillingly came out from Luo Yan's head, Luo Yan opened his eyes, and the light in his eyes was clear, like two mirrors that had been polished to a shine. The red poison has been completely expelled. In this way, Luo Yan no longer has to worry about the future. After reaching the 5th level of the advanced realm, there is no need to rush to break through the realm. You can polish the realm and wait until the great perfection before breaking through. Without the invisible rope of a second infection, that is like a constant tightening on the neck, Luo Yan only feels relaxed. This kind of relaxation is spiritual and mental. After the second infection, his nerves are often in a tense state, and he dare not slack off in cultivation. If this continues, there will definitely be problems. Fortunately, in this war between the Black Witch and Huanquin, he got the golden chamber record and finally solved this hidden danger. At this moment, Luo Yan can finally put down the big stone in his heart and breathe a sigh of relief. After relaxing, his state of mind is completely different. Even the indifference on his face has been reduced a bit. After the red poison is expelled, Luo Yan's eyes are no longer so bright red, but the vermilion in his eyes is still there, just not as bright as before. As for other changes, they are more reflected in the internal part. It cannot be seen from the outside. Now without the influence of red poison, Luo Yan's training speed is faster than before. Moreover, his physical fitness has also been enhanced, and he has developed a certain resistance to red poison. Now, even if he is thrown into the blood essence of the giant beast again, it is not so easy to be infected with red poison again. After adjusting his physical condition, Luo Yan walked out of the room and came to the cab. Looking out of the window, Gifa City can be vaguely seen. After several days of travel, the convoy from Guangling has arrived near the forbidden area. Previously, the surface base near Gifa City was destroyed by Huang Yuanhang's mobile force. Now, a new surface base has been built and provides logistical support for the various underground city troops coming to Gifa City to fight. When the convoy arrived at the base, Luo Yan saw that the base was very lively. A team of heavy-duty trucks was slowly driving into the base. These vehicles delivered a large amount of biological materials, the most of which were the field rations for the Mecha Division. These compressed foods can ensure that the Mecha Division can be full of hunger at any time when fighting in the forbidden area. The field rations of each unit can allow the Mecha Division to eat for 3 to 5 days. Due to the large number of people coming to participate in the battle, the Guangling convoy could not enter the base and could only park outside in the temporary camp provided by the base. Luo Yan and other Mecha divisions took their things and walked into the assigned barracks. The barracks are divided into squads, and men and women live together, but there are separate toilets and bathrooms. There are a total of 4 people from the 3rd squad and 4th team participating in the battle this time, and the standard number of people living in a barracks is 6, so the space is quite spacious. Yan Wenbo let the 3 men sleep on the beds near the door, gave the innermost bed to Bei, and found a screen to block Bei's bed, so that Bei also has his own space in the barracks. Luo Yan couldn't sit still, and after putting down his things, he entered the base. The main road of the base was crowded with people on both sides. When Luo Yan was walking on the side of the road, a horn suddenly sounded next to him, and then a familiar voice called out, "Isn't this brother Luo Yan?" Chapter 748 Gift. Luo Yan turned around and saw a square face. It turned out to be Ma Shuo, the squad leader of the Changping City Mecha Corps. He sat in the driver's seat, leaning forward with his hands hanging on the car door. Xiaorong, a beautiful female pilot, sat next to him and waved to Luo Yan with a smile. Behind them was Meng Fangxi, a pale-skinned man holding a sniper rifle. This young man with an equally cold temperament just nodded slightly. Perhaps because the red poison had been expelled, Luo Yan was in a good mood and took the initiative to say, "You are here too." Ma Shuo said with a smile, "Yes, the strategic office has delegated the operation commission. We don't want to miss such a good thing. What is the situation in Changping City now?" Luo Yan asked again. He thought that, although Changping City was attacked by the Sky Overlord, the materials recovered from the killing of Kun and the Overlord Beast should be able to make up for some of the losses. Ma Shuo nodded repeatedly. After this period of recuperation, the vitality has been largely restored. Otherwise, we would not be able to join in the fun. But to be honest, you Guangling are still the best. The main combat power to attack Gifa City this time is still provided by you Guangling, so we are here to join in the fun and see if there is any advantage to be gained. Guangling City sent troops to attack Gifa City before the summer vacation. The battle against Gifa City was also undertaken by a squad of mecha regiments from Guangling and Qingyang. In fact, this can also be regarded as a combat commission, except that the object of the delegation is the army of the underground city. And now, the requirements for the delegated objects have been further lowered, so that the army of other cities and lands have the opportunity to participate. At this time, a horn sounded behind, and Ma Shuo smiled and said, "We are leaving first, and we will talk again when we have a chance. But this time, brother Luo Yan, please show mercy and don't steal our behemoth." Luo Yan's mouth corners slightly raised, nodded, and watched them leave. Off-road vehicles, modified cars and even heavy trucks kept driving into the base, passing through in an orderly manner. In the base, Luo Yan found that many adventurers and gold diggers did not continue their old business, but temporarily changed their business and set up stalls. Among the various stalls, the most were weapons and equipment stalls, followed by medicine raw materials and giant beast materials. Of course, the giant beast materials they could get were basically low-level giant beasts, and they could not get important materials such as cores. Most of them were some divided animal skins and broken bones. These things could be processed into various human protective gear according to the characteristics of the giant beasts, and they were very popular on the surface. Luo Yan picked up an amulet made of animal bones at a stall, and prepared to take it back to give to Bei. When he was about to get up, a big hand pressed on Luo Yan's shoulder. In fact, Luo Yan had already noticed the hand when it was stretched out, but he could not feel the other party's malice, so Luo Yan did not dodge. When his shoulder was patted, he turned around and saw a man with a buzz cut and a dark chin. Song Bao from the mechanized corps of Pingyao City. "It's really you, classmate Luo Yan. Just now I thought I had seen the wrong person. Classmate Luo Yan, I'm really sorry about what happened last time. Don't take it to heart." Previously in Pingyao, Song Bao was angry at Luo Yan because of his brother Song Hu's sacrifice. But later, he apologized to Luo Yan in person. Luo Yan had forgotten about it a long time ago. Now hearing what Song Bao said, he smiled and shook his head. That matter is in the past. Luo Yan continued, "Are you also here to participate?" Song Bao nodded, "But we only have 3 teams coming. After all, our losses were quite large after the last incident. Now the captain is busy every day, and there is really no extra manpower to support here." Luo Yan asked with concern, "How is Pingyao City now?" At that time, Pingyao City was attacked by the Sky Ghost Zhekui, and many people died. Although the Red Beast was destroyed later, Jiuying Yunran revealed that it would be more appropriate to say that the Red Beast collapsed rather than being destroyed. and afterwards, nothing could be recovered from the giant beast. The loss was also heavy, but Changping City could at least get some benefits from the Sky Overlord. Pingyao City really lost a lot. Song Bao shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although the destroyed urban area is being rebuilt in the past few months, the strategic office has also transported a batch of materials. But it will probably take a few years to restore to its previous scale. Fortunately, during this period, the Yanfu space was very peaceful, and no giant beasts attacked us. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't have time to come here now. He touched his nose. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. We came to participate in the combat commission, just to earn some contribution points, to exchange for some materials, and relieve the pressure on the core. Luo Yan felt an imperceptible heaviness on him, and for a moment, he didn't know how to comfort him. Song Bao was more open-minded. He laughed dryly and said, "It doesn't matter. No matter how difficult it is, it won't be more difficult than when the giant scourge broke out. There will always be a way." He stretched out his hand and said, "I have something else to do. I'll leave first. I look forward to your performance in the forbidden area this time." Luo Yan held this rough but generous hand. "Same here." Guangling Camp. Luo Yan returned to the barracks. Others were not there. Only Bei was browsing her phone. I don't know what she was looking at. Luo Yan coughed dryly, attracting Bei's attention. The girl turned around and smiled. "You're back. How is it? Is the base lively?" "Very lively." Luo Yan touched the amulet in his pocket, and then with the determination of a duel with a strong enemy, he gritted his teeth, and took it out and said, "I just bought a little thing at the stall in the base. I'll give it to you." Bei was stunned for a moment, and his eyes fell on the bone amulet. The amulet was made a little crudely, with a primitive atmosphere, and a symbol was engraved crookedly on it. To be honest, if this thing was put in normal times, Bei would not even look at it. But now, this amulet is the most beautiful thing in her eyes. "Thank you." Bei happily took it, as if holding something precious, and carefully held it to his chest and said, "I will keep it well." "Keep what?" At this time, Yan Wenbo walked in. He looked curious, but he didn't ask questions. "Come here, the reward rules for the Operation Commission have been announced, come and have a look." Luo Yan walked over after hearing this, and Bei carefully hid the amulet close to his body, and then the corners of his mouth curled up uncontrollably. Hehehe. Student Luo gave me a gift. No, Ruohan said that girls should be reserved. I can't show it too obviously. But what should I do if I can't help laughing? So Bei could only cover his mouth with both hands to avoid laughing out loud. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749. The goal of the two. The rules of this battle commission are as follows. 1. Killing a behemoth will give corresponding rewards according to its rank. Killing a lower level behemoth will give 200 contribution points. Killing a mid-level behemoth will give 700 contribution points. Killing a high-level behemoth will give 2000 contribution points. Killing alone will get full contribution points. For team kills, the captain will distribute the points according to the contributions of the team members too. Task rewards. Currently, the tasks of the Battle Commission are divided into exploration, hunting, war zone cleaning and other types. The rewards depend on the task type and difficulty. The specific details can be reviewed through the task release system 3, All Out Attack. In the last round of the campaign, the last and most comprehensive attack on the forbidden area will be launched. Voluntary participants can get 200 contribution points as a basic reward. The reward for killing a behemoth in the all-out attack will be increased by 20% on the original basis for pension. All mecha divisions participating in the Battle Commission will receive pensions from the Strategic Office if they are unfortunately killed. The pension consists of 10,000 general work points plus 2 contribution points earned by the mecha division. The contribution points can be freely distributed by the family of the deceased and can be used to exchange for general work points in the dungeon or transferred to the immediate family. For those without relatives, the pension will be paid to the mecha corps to which the deceased belonged. Note, participants in the battle can settle the reward and withdraw from the battle at any time, so please decide whether to fight or not according to your actual situation. Publicity Department of the Giant Beast Strategic Office. The above are the reward rules for this operation commission. After reading it, Luo Yang handed the tablet computer showing the content of the rules to Bei. Yan Wenbo chuckled and said, I have already accepted a mission. We just arrived, so I will accept an exploration mission to warm up. At present, the safe area and some dangerous areas of Gifa City's Forbidden Land have been conquered, but the situation in more areas is unclear due to the influence of the giant beast ecology in the city. Therefore, the exploration mission is basically to explore these blind spots on the map. We will go deep into these areas, figure out the giant beast ecology inside, clean up the middle and lower level giant beasts, recover things of research value, etc. The basic reward for the exploration mission is 1000 contribution points, and then you will get corresponding rewards depending on the completion of the exploration. As for the giant beasts killed during the exploration process, the research materials recovered, and the valuable intelligence discovered, they are calculated independently. The exploration completion degree is divided into 4 levels: 10%, 30%, 50%, and 100%. For every 10% exploration degree completed, you will get 200 contribution points. Luo Yang nodded slightly. According to Yan Wenbo, the contribution points of the exploration mission itself are not many. The basic 1000, and even if the exploration degree is 100%, it is only 2000 contribution points. Adding together a total of 3000 contribution points, this contribution point is divided equally. Each person only has 7 or 8 contribution points, which is equivalent to killing a mid-level behemoth. However, during the exploration process, you will also get rewards for killing behemoths, recovering research materials, discovering intelligence, etc., and this part of the reward will be calculated independently. After a trip, if you are lucky, it is not impossible to get tens of thousands of contribution points. At the very least, there should be 4000 or 5000. If everyone has no objection, let's get ready and set off tomorrow morning, Yan Wenbo said. Luo Yan and others nodded in agreement, and the 4 of them dispersed. In the blink of an eye, it was already dark. Eating outside the camp, Luo Yan watched the people coming and going in the camp. In the crowd, he saw Hiheo and Sujiyu. They were already formal members of the corps and also participated in this combat commission. The two hurriedly walked through the crowd and disappeared in a flash. At this time, Luo Yan's heart moved, and then he heard Bei's voice sounded beside him. Student Luo, what do you plan to exchange after you get the contribution points? Bei sat next to Luo Yan with a lunchbox in his hand. He opened the lunchbox and hot smoke rose from the food inside. Luo Yan smiled and said, I want to exchange for a set of Tangsuan realm exercises. He wanted to exchange for the Tangsuan realm exercise Heavenly Fire record. In this way, after practicing Yan Yang Sutra to the great perfection, he can break through the realm and continue to advance to Tangsuan realm. Luo Yang has already seen this set of exercises in the exchange list. The conditions for exchange are quite harsh. In addition to requiring 30,000 contribution points, you also need to have a record of killing giant beasts. The record of killing giant beasts requires at least independently killing 5 mid-level giant beasts in this battle, or making outstanding contributions in the team battle against the upper level giant beasts. For many people, although 30,000 contribution points is not easy, if you go on missions like crazy and are willing to work hard, you still have a chance to get it. The additional condition at the end, independently killing 5 mid-level beasts, or making outstanding contributions in the team battle against the upper level beasts, is the most difficult. The need to exchange for Tangsuan realm techniques means that one is at an advanced level, but not all advanced levels have multiple unique techniques like Luo Yan. More advanced level cultivators are people with mediocre qualifications like Xiaoping. Since these people are not talented, they basically have no chance to learn unique techniques and top grade secret techniques. Therefore, for them, it is more practical to exchange some secret techniques instead of exchanging Tangsuan realm techniques. After strengthening their own strength, there will be plenty of opportunities to exchange tanks and realm techniques in the future. Of course, since the exchange reward is open for a long time and the combat commission will continue to be delegated in the future, it can be imagined that when the overall strength of the cultivators is improved, the threshold for exchange will be adjusted accordingly. So Luo Yan plans to exchange Heavenly Fire record first in this battle. The part that is more troublesome for others is the simplest for him. The trouble is 30,000 contribution points. In the previous Deathgate Evil battle, Luo Yan gained a total of 100,000 contribution points, which was a huge sum of money at that time. But after that, Luo Yan spent money like water for cultivation. Just one bottle of marrow cleansing agent cost 5,000 contribution points, and the energy enhancer he invested almost non-stop. In addition, after the second infection, Luo Yan needed to exchange for super relief agent to prolong his life, which was not cheap at all. As a result, today, the original huge amount of money is almost gone. Now Luo Yan has only 8,000 contribution points left. In this way, he needs to get more than 20,000 contribution points in this battle to have a hope of exchanging for Heavenly Fire record. You really are after the technique. Bei had an expression that said, "I knew this would happen." She picked up a piece of fried fish and put it in Luo Yan's lunchbox, then said, "I won't consider the technique for now. It's still far away from me. I want to exchange for a set of brainwave focusing device to focus and stabilize my mental state, or exchange for the secret technique, mirror heart platform. With one of them, I can safely use the weird release. However, I'm only at the advanced level now, so the weird released is only half of its strength, and it doesn't last very long." Chapter 750. A good start. Luo Yan nodded. He was probably the only one who had seen Bei's strange liberation. The power was indeed extraordinary. Back then in the Misty Canyon, Bei liberated the Blue Goblin. Although it was not completely liberated, the Blue Goblin with only half of its body crushed the upper level beast Ming Snake. At that time, Luo Yan did not have the ability to kill the upper level beast alone, but Bei had already done it. It can be seen how powerful the strange liberation is. Luo Yan suspected that, even if Bei did not practice other unique skills, she could crush a large number of cultivators in the same realm with just the strange liberation. If she could cultivate to the Tangsuan realm, or even a higher realm, and be able to completely liberate the strangeness, it would be unimaginable. However, cultivators like Bei are not invincible. The strength of the strangeness determines their upper limit. Unless Bei can control a more powerful strangeness in the future. Otherwise, when she can completely liberate the 8 strangeness she currently controls, she will reach a bottleneck and a limit. After chatting for a while, the two returned to the barracks to rest and prepare for tomorrow's mission. The next day, after breakfast, the third shift and the fourth team set off. The roof of the mecha carrier unfolded, and the bun with a white background and black stripes stood up from the carrier and left the vehicle. After equipping various weapons and carrying a flamethrower, they gathered at the designated location. The 4 mechs, except for the magic machine 8 gates, which is not suitable for equipping with flamethrowers, the other mechs each carry one such weapon. They are used to remove the weird hairs that are everywhere in the forbidden area. By the way, weapons like this, as well as the maintenance of the mechs in this operation, the replenishment of consumables, etc. are all paid by the mecha division. The Corps will provide certain subsidies, but the bulk of the cost is still the responsibility of the mecha division itself. Therefore, after obtaining contribution points, part of them must be exchanged for general work points in the dungeon for various expenses. Are you all ready? Then show up. Yan Wenbo's voice sounded in the team channel. After everyone responded, they waited at the camp's exit for 5 minutes and received instructions to pass. Several mechs left the camp and began to move towards the direction of Gifa City. In the cab, Luo Yan looked out of the panoramic window. In addition to their team, many mecha teams set out from different directions to the forbidden area of Gifa City. Luo Yan took a rough look and found that most of the mechs that came to participate in the battle were Xuanji, but there were also a few magic machines. The difference between Xuanji lies in the paint, suspension equipment, armor, etc. Although it looks varied, the difference is not too different in general. But the magic machine is different. Like the white 8 gates, it looks like a white dog with a human face, which looks very strange. But as far as Luo Yan can see now, some are driving magic machines like big spiders, and there are also machines that look like big birds that can compete with feathered beasts in the sky. The various magic machines became a special landscape, making Bay excited to look here and there along the way. However, after entering the forbidden area, because each team's mission location and mission purpose were different, it was difficult to see their companions again. After all, the range of the mech's activities was very large, so when planning the mission, the range of the mission location was quite wide. Among the 4 people, Luo Yan had already set foot in the Ghost Hair City for the second time. During the last actual combat in the forbidden area, they, the students, only moved in the safe area. The scope of the safe area was not small. At that time, the first year students also occupied a high-speed rail station on the edge of the city. In addition, there are residential areas, commercial streets, overpasses, squares, parks, etc. in the safe area. But now, these things can no longer be seen. Under the joint cleanup of the 2 mecha corps of Guangling and Qingyang, the entire safe area was almost razed. At least, now Luo Yan's team has entered the forbidden area, but basically no buildings can be seen here. There are only ruins. Attention, we are about to enter the mission site. Deploy the 121 formation now. Yan Wenbo's voice drew everyone's attention back. Luo Yan immediately controlled the button to stride forward and came to the front of the team. The button held a shield in one hand and a flamethrower in the other and just cleared the way in front. Yan Wenbo's Xiu and Dugu Changson's Feidian lagged behind a little and spread out to the left and right. These 2 mechas have been upgraded. The hypercore matrix of the Xiu uses the core of the mid-level Behemoth 0 and is equipped with 3 cores. Although it cannot open the Transcendence mode like the 6-core matrix of the Bion, the 0 matrix of the Xiu allows it to obtain the 2 characteristics of speeding and hovering, greatly improving the mobility and aerial activity of the mecha. The upgrade of Feidian is mainly in weapons and armor. The previous dragon is now replaced with a tiger-headed spear-flying tiger, which is a heavy weapon, and the armor is replaced with turtle material armor like the original white dragon. These 2 upgrades have greatly improved the attack and defense indexes of Feidian. Behind these 2 mechas is base magic machine 8 gates. She is not good at frontal combat, so the 3 mechas in front, such as NB, form 2 lines of defense for protection. In this way, they can fight without any scruples. If the giant beast goes around the back of the team, Xiu and Feidian will spread out to the left and right, forming a triangle formation with the Yin in front. 8 gates will enter the center of the triangle formation and can also be protected, but in that case, the 2 lines of defense will become 1. After the formation was deployed, the 3rd squad and the 4th team stepped into the danger zone and officially entered the mission site to start exploring. When they arrived at the danger zone, it was no different from the place they had walked all the way to, and it was also a relatively flat ruins area. However, soon, streets and buildings appeared in Luo Yan's field of vision. It was obvious that the previous cleanup work had temporarily stopped here. Here, Luo Yan saw broken roads, collapsed overpasses, scrap tanks, and a white giant skeleton. This was a scene left after a fierce battle. After passing the giant skeleton, Yan Wenbo said in a deep voice, "Be careful, you can already see the strange hair." Luo Yan squinted his eyes slightly and looked out from the panoramic window. There were more than 10-story buildings in front of him. Their walls were covered with clumps of long black hair, and a large amount of strange hair came out of the windows of the buildings. When the wind blew, these hairs danced. Even in broad daylight, this scene still made people's scalps explode. At this time, the giant beast radar sounded. Luo Yan looked to see that there were 3 giant beasts approaching from the left and right directions of their team, 2 on the left and 1 on the right. The signal on the right has a dazzling red spectrum. With a slight smile on his lips, Luo Yan whispered, "Red at the beginning? It's a good sign." Chapter 751, Weird Food Fight. The Behemoth radar, 1 red and 2 orange. 3 spectral signals flashed non-stop. At the same time, the computer quickly matched the 3 signals and soon got the result. Codename, TSUI. Level, upper level 3. Type, intermediate insect. Features, regeneration, thick armor, high energy, spores. Weakness unknown. Codename. Level, intermediate level 2. Type, caterpillar. Features, fear, whipping, galloping, collision. Codename, Ikwaru. Level, intermediate level 4. Type, feathered insect. Features, wind, feather arrows, air blades, iron claws. In a blink of an eye, the 3 behemoths have been confirmed. Luo Yan was a little surprised when he saw that the upper level was actually Taesu. At that time in the Qingyang mine, they encountered this upper level behemoth, and the Qingyang underground city lost a mecha team. Unexpectedly, they encountered it again now. Yan Wenbo's voice sounded in the communication channel. Zio Luo, just block that step and hold it back. Zio Bei, you deal with that flying beast. Changxin and I will help you after we kill that nine-tailed sheep. Quickly assign tasks. Luo Yan took the lead and headed in the direction of Taesu. The divine weapon level, large shield was slightly pushed forward, and Luo Yan put away the flamethrower first. Bian drew out another, divine weapon level, heavy sword, the dragon elephant used by mecha. At this time, a group of black shadows jumped out from the rooms of several buildings. It was the giant beast that looked like a big meatball seen in the Qingyang mine that day, Taesui. At this time, Taesui had already spit out a cannon barrel that looked like a bone. In the muzzle, scarlet bloomed. A high energy beam shot out and blasted straight at Bian. But before hitting Bian, the high energy beam first hit the layers of energy barriers activated by the Zuanwu large shield. A total of 36 layers of energy screens were stacked in front of the mecha, forming a thick barrier. After breaking through 20 layers of barriers in a row, the speed of Taesui's high energy beam obviously decreased a lot. When all the barriers were shattered, the beam had shrunk a circle when it hit the Zuanwu shield. Luo Yan then practiced his skills, and a circle of golden sun flowed on the surface of the mecha and the shield, once again offsetting part of the beam. At the same time, in the transcendence mode, the energy absorption characteristic of Teoti was activated, and the beam that fell on the shield quickly dimmed. Part of it was offset, part of it was absorbed, and the rest was no longer a threat to the Bian. At that time, facing this giant beast in the Qingyang mine, Luo Yan and others fought hard before they killed this upper level. But now, the pressure that Taesui gave Luo Yan was obviously much smaller than that time. At least, Luo Yan would not feel difficult to defeat. The dragon elephant was raised, and Luo Yan was about to fight back. Taesui suddenly bounced up, and then his body spun rapidly, like a wheel, rushing into the building, and disappearing behind the strange hair. Therefore, the appearance of Bian holding up the long sword seemed a little awkward. Fortunately, at this time, Yan Wenbo and the other two were dealing with 2 mid-level beasts, and could not care about Luo Yan. At this time, the white-headed 3-legged human-faced Ikwaru had bone hands emerging from his body. These bone hands grabbed Ikwaru's wings, making it unable to flap its wings and stir up a strong wind, and also fell to the ground, crushing a flyover, shaking the wreckage of the cars on the ground like toys, and jumping up and falling in all directions. Then the figure of the headless general appeared in the air, and the weird that appeared huge due to the amplification of the mecha dragged its broken sword and took a big step towards Ikwaru. The broken sword of the headless general dragged out bright sparks on the ground, and the road was shattered by his big feet. His figure flashed through the windows of the buildings. In a blink of an eye, he was in front of Ikwaru, raised his broken sword, outlined a residual shadow, and chopped at the head of the giant beast. On the other side, the mechs Xiuhu and Feridan were dealing with the 9-tailed sheep. Yes, dealing. For them, a mid-level giant beast is no longer an opponent that needs to be prepared and defeated step by step. At the beginning, Xiuhu's hypercore matrix was activated, and Ziru's speed feature made the mecha, which was originally good at speed, become a gorgeous and colorful brilliance at this moment. It bounced and jumped between the buildings, making the goat-shaped and 9-tailed completely unable to keep up with its movement. The brilliant light circled around her. Although the body of the 9-tailed sheep was covered with dense hair, the claws of the embroidered tiger tore large pieces of blood mist. The 9-tailed sheep felt pain, and the eyes on its back suddenly shone brightly. A faint, slightly dark light spread out, and when it washed over the two mechs, Yan Wenbo and Dugu Changxin both felt a palpitation. Fear. However, this fear not only did not scare off the opponent, but angered Dugu Changxin. Because just now, the figure of a woman with a crew cut flashed in Dugu Changxin's mind. That was Liu Yan, the companion who died in a throw of the Sangmentia. That scene became a past that Dugu Changxin was reluctant to mention, and became the fear in his heart. But now, the dug it out. This made Dugu Changxin's eyes burst into anger. Fidian charged head on, rushing towards the beast with the force of a wolf and a pig. His figure continued to expand in the vision of the nine-tailed sheep. The nine tails behind the suddenly danced out a black shadow, whipping at Fidian like a violent storm. Whip. Dugu Changxin roared, activated his skills, covered his body with a layer of energy, and relied on the high defense of the material armor to pass through the rain of whips. Exclamation mark. The fierce collision sounded like fried beans, and Fidian allowed the beast to whip him, but his momentum was unstoppable. Then the tiger-headed spear in his hand turned into a cold light, and its sharpness pierced the beast's eyes painfully. The next second, the spear broke through the skull and stabbed into the beast's body, crushing the flesh and organs, and then with Fidian's strong pick, the entire spine was picked out by the spear. Screamed, and blood mist gushed out from its back for 1,000 meters. The blood fell like rain, painting the nearby buildings and roads red. On the other side, the wings of the big bird Gwaru were twisted down by thousands of bone hands, and the big wings immediately fell to the ground, breaking bones and tendons, causing Gwaru to scream in pain. At this moment, the headless general seized the opportunity, and the broken sword chopped down like a mountain collapse, chopping the giant bad's head in half, and the blood sprayed all over the headless general. However, the heads of various creatures and different races hanging on the headless general's armor spikes let out bursts of joy or strange laughter, all greedily sucking the blood of Gwaru, and even in order to compete for more blood, those heads screamed at each other. Seeing this scene, Luo Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of worry. Chapter 752 High Wall. The upper level beasts are generally cunning. They know how to judge the situation and pick the weak ones. Once they encounter a tough guy, they will slip away if they can. If they really can't run away, they will stay and fight to the death. Luo Yan understands all these principles. Seeing that, Kamen Han fired a shot and turned around and ran away without giving himself a chance to fight back. Luo Yan was a little depressed. He was still thinking about being able to kill an upper level beast today, and at the same time he would get the contribution points and complete the additional conditions for exchanging for Heavenly Fire record. But Kamen Han ran away. This made him a little distracted when recovering the core, and his movements were a little slow, but others didn't notice it. Yan Wenbo and Dugu Changxin teamed up to kill the nine-tailed sheep, and Beze killed the giant bird Gwaru alone. The three of them had their own gains and were in a good mood. After all, this was the first day of entering the forbidden area, and it was a good sign to have such a gain. A moment later, the cores of the two mid-level beasts were stored in the recycling bin, and Yan Wenbo said, "Let's go and continue exploring." At the captain's command, Luo Yan and others controlled the mecha to leave. After they all left, not long after, the ground shook slightly. Then a black shadow rolled out from a residential area. Tsui. This meatball-like giant beast rolled like a wheel to the vicinity of the two mid-level corpses before stopping. Then, Tsui stretched out tentacle-like organs from the fleshy placenta, and they drilled into the corpses of Gwaru. Then it continued to devour and absorb the flesh and blood on the two corpses. Those tentacles were like rubber water pipes. The flesh and blood of the mid-level beasts formed bulges, which squirmed through these water pipes, and were injected into Tsui's body. A large piece of fleshy whiskers like plant roots quickly grew on the surface of Tsui's body. They woven together to form a grid, and then new fleshy placenta was generated on the surface of these meat grids. After Tsui had gnawed the two mid-level beasts clean, leaving only the skeletons, the size of the meatball had at least doubled. The meat of the two mid-level beasts was transferred to Tsui's body almost intact, making it even bigger, and the thickness of the placenta was far beyond the level when Luo Yan saw it before. The big meatball without eyes, ears, mouth, or nose gave people the feeling that it was staring at the direction where Luo Yan's team left. Then Tsui turned around and crashed into several buildings like a flesh chariot. The overly large body knocked the buildings to the ground, and Tsui quickly went away. Asterisk 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 boom. The flames ejected from the muzzle swept across the clumps of black hair that were blocking the way in front of him. Those things burned when they met fire and shrank like living things at lightning speed, and then twisted in the flames in vain, like a burning python. Luo Yan looked at this scene through the panoramic window and felt uncomfortable. As the exploration team went deeper into the dangerous area, the black, plant-like strange hair became more and more numerous. The densest place was even like a black grassland. In the absence of wind, countless black hair danced like seaweed. Such a scene would make anyone feel numb. Cleaning up the strange hair is also part of the exploration mission. Therefore, when encountering such a situation, Luo Yan and his team, without exception, would shoot out streams of fire from the jets to sweep and clean up. In this way, the advancement speed was naturally slow. In a blink of an eye, it was already afternoon. The Bion walked across the hot ground, and its big feet with scratches on the outer layer of the armor stepped on the road covered with ash, causing the ground burned by the fire to crack like a big mouth longing for the arrival of nectar. What is this? Bei's voice rang in the communication channel. Just in front of the team, a high wall rose from the ground, blocking the way. This high wall was amazingly high, enough to stop most mechs that had no flying ability. Moreover, it extended to the left and right, deep into the city, where the forbidden area was located, and it was unknown how long it was in total. In any case, Luo Yan opened his silver eyes of peeping, but he could not see the end of the high wall. The most bizarre thing was that it was not a wall, but rather a curtain woven with black demon hair. This high wall that blocked the team's way was woven with countless demon hairs. Standing on the ground like this, blocking the way, the embroidered tiger flashed past, and this light mecha easily jumped onto the high wall, and then used its hands and feet to fly on the vertical wall. Just as it was about to reach the top of the wall, a dense mass of demon hair suddenly floated out from behind the black wall. They covered the sky and the sun, whistling down, and the hair tips were like snakes, and it seemed that they wanted to get into the body of the embroidered tiger. Yan Wenbo quickly controlled the mecha to run back, and when the mecha landed on the ground, those demon hairs stopped chasing, and all shrank back, and disappeared on the other side of the high wall. Luo Yan narrowed his eyes slightly. It actually has a defense mechanism. Is this a defensive wall? No matter if it is a defensive wall or not, Dugu Changxing controlled Fidian to move forward, since it blocks our way. Just burn it. The mecha raised the jet, and a fire dragon roared away. The orange-yellow flames fell on the high wall, and the flames immediately spread. After spraying for more than 10 seconds, Fidian put down the gunhead, and saw green smoke rising from the high wall, and large sparks flashed where the flames were burned. But the demon hair that burned when it encountered fire before now had no reaction at all, which really stunned Dugu Changxin. Their ignition point is much higher than the demon hair we have seen before. Luo Yan's red eyes, which were slightly dim than before, appeared with circles of silver light. Under the gaze of peeping silver eyes, the data of the demon hair that made up this high wall emerged like flowing water. The molecules are densely arranged, and the hardness is comparable to that of the outer armor of mecha. The ignition point is very high, and it is not easy to burn. This thing is not simple. A layer of golden light suddenly flowed around the body of the Bion. Luo Yan activated the Yan Yangjing, and held the dragon elephant in his hand. He chopped down the wall of the high wall with one sword. Sizzle. A harsh sound rang out, and the friction between the blade of the heavy sword and the high wall actually produced a group of sparks. However, the high wall still made a cut for Luo Yan, and many clumps of black hair were cut off and scattered. The dragon elephant chopped again, and cut off several clumps of black hair. Yan Wenbo controlled the mecha, and took out the recycling box and said, "Take these things back, and let the laboratory study what these are." Just as the captain was recycling the monster hair, Luo Yan suddenly saw an orange spectrum signal pop up on the giant beast radar. Another giant beast appeared. Intermediate level. At the same time, above everyone's head, a burst of crying like a woman, heartbroken, suddenly sounded. Chapter 753 Horror Stage. Hearing the cry, everyone's scalp tightened, and then they looked up at the sky. In the sky, from behind the high wall in front of them, a shadow flew out. Bird head, human body, 4 wings, 2 claws. On the magpie-like head of this flying beast, there was a woman's face. This face looked young, with beautiful features and rosy lips. But the woman closed her eyes and seemed to be asleep. The body, like that of a human woman, also had heavy breasts and a flat belly. It was covered with dark green feathers. The plumpest part of the feathers was on the 4 wings, and the thinnest part was on the abdomen. At the same time, the computer also matched the information of this flying beast. Codename, Guho bird. Level, intermediate level 1. Type, feathered insect. Features, sonic boom, steel claws, feather knife, chaotic god. Luo Yan was not unfamiliar with the Guho bird. At that time, when they were conducting a forbidden area actual combat in Gifa City, the first target was this kind of feathered flying beast. And that night, when they were about to kill Guho bird, Lizzie snatched his head away. All the past events were vivid in his mind. At this moment, Guho bird, which was in the sky, suddenly opened its eyes. In those blood-red eyes, dark blue halos kept spinning. Immediately, the thoughts of the people in the mecha suddenly became confused. As soon as one thought came up, another thought followed. Guho bird, chaos god. While confusing everyone's thoughts, the flying beast opened its mouth and let out a sharp and high-pitched cry. The sound waves that could be seen by the naked eye spread downward, causing pain in the ears of everyone in the mecha. Sonic boom. However, now, whether it is Luo Yan or the others, they are all advanced cultivators. Whether it is Chaos God or Sonic Boom, the impact on them is limited. Dugu Changson quickly recovered and raised his head and said, "It flew too high. We must first find a way to tear its wings off. Let it fall to the ground, then we can deal with it." At this moment, outside the panoramic window, a golden rainbow suddenly shot up into the sky. The brilliant golden rainbow light was as thin as smoke and flashed past the body of the flying beast in the sky. The Guho bird stopped moving immediately. Then it let out a shrill cry, a cry as mournful as the cry of a cuckoo crying blood, and then something fell down. Dugu Changson subconsciously let the mecha reach out to catch it. Looking out again, it turned out to be the head of the Guho bird. On that stunning face, a pair of sad eyes stared at Dugu Changson. Bad luck. Dugu Changson threw the head away and then saw the body of the Guho bird fell not far away, crushing 2 buildings. At this time, he saw that the Bayan next to him was putting down the hand that raised the dragon elephant. Obviously, Luo Yan had just killed this intermediate level beast with his unique skills. In the cab, Luo Yan exhaled. Not bad. Although it's only the first mid-level, it can be considered as opening. Yan Wenbo's voice rang out in the communication channel. "Listen, is this human language? What do you mean? Although it's only the first mid-level. Can you not have such a big appetite, kid? Be careful or you'll die of overeating." Bei's laughter also came in the communication channel. Then Dugu Changson said, "Hurry up and recover the core, and then go back." Yan Wenbo said, "You can go back. We have all come here. There is no way out. And we brought back the monster hair specimen. The exploration degree should be 100%. Luo Yan nodded, and based on the principle that whoever killed the giant beast should recover it, he controlled the Bayan to the scene where the body of the Guho bird fell and found the body between 2 buildings with only frames left. But before he could recover the core, a roar of birds and beasts sounded in the sky. Unlike the Guho bird, this roar was vaguely angry, and it made Luo Yan's heart jump violently. He was very familiar with this feeling. This is an extremely strong sense of crisis. Luo Yan no longer cares about recovering the core. Bayan turned around and looked at the sky behind the wall. There, the thick clouds were surging and rolling endlessly. Large chunks of leaden clouds quickly piled up below, and a dark shadow could be vaguely seen in the clouds. The dark shadow obviously spread its wings. This pair of large wings blocked the sun in the sky, as if to cover the entire forbidden area. In the howling wind, Luo Yan saw black lines hanging from the clouds. They were ropes entangled with hair. At the end of these ropes, there was a figure hanging. Those figures were all human, men, women, young and old, with plump images. These people hanging in the sky seemed to have no idea where they were, and they were all carrying out their daily activities. The old man was reading the newspaper, the child was playing games, the man was talking on the phone, and the lady was putting on makeup. This was like a grand stage play, but the stage was located in the sky, and everyone was horrified to watch this scene. Luo Yang had also seen it in the Gifa city that day, and later Wei Fenghe even speculated that the black shadow in the cloud might be the owner of this forbidden area. Danghu. It is recorded in Shanhaijing. Danghu. Its shape is like a pheasant. It flies with its whiskers, and eating it will not blind your eyes. This means that the strange bad Danghu looks like the legendary pheasant. It flies with its whiskers, and eating its meat will not blind your eyes. Luo Yan didn't know whether eating its meat would really prevent presbyopia. He only knew that from the perspective of Gideo Yanmu, the body of the flying beast behind the clouds was a mess of black lines. It looked like a ball of yarn tangled into the shape of a flying bird, and in this ball of yarn, there was a ball of biological grey light. At the same time, he also saw that among the high walls, there was a peak rising into the sky and piercing the clouds. The black shadow in the cloud, the dominant beast Danghu, flew down from the peak. At the same time, on the top of the mountain, there were groups of biological grey light flying and circling. It seemed that there were giant feathered beasts guarding it. At this time, as Danghu flew down, many giant birds also flew down with him. Luo Yan immediately reported the situation. Don't recycle the core. Go. Yan Wenbo immediately decided, we can't go together, we have to go separately. Otherwise the target will be too obvious. At the same time, we must use the cover of ground obstacles. The overlord beast cannot be defeated. I will contact the base immediately. Zhao Luo, you and Zhao Bei will be in a group. Changxin, follow me. Immediately, the four mechs were divided into two groups and left in different directions. Bian strode forward, holding a shield and a sword, and cleared the way in front. The white dog-shaped Baman followed closely behind, following Luo Yan. The two of them had not walked far, while controlling the mechs when the wind in the sky became fierce and a huge pressure enveloped them. Luo Yan didn't need to look back to know that Danghu was chasing him. He calmly observed his surroundings. Then he controlled Bian to run towards a group of buildings. It should be a commercial street, but now the buildings on the street are tilted and scattered like a piece of dominoes that have been pushed apart. Chapter 754. Proud Insect. Those interlocking buildings looked like dominoes that were overturned but still scattered. Between these dominoes, there were spaces for hiding. Bian got into one of the hiding spaces, crouched on the ground, with his back against a building. In front of it, there were two other buildings leaning on the roof of the building behind Bian, blocking the sky. At the same time, it also blocked the vision of the giant beast. Most flying beasts have sharp eyes, so it is basically impossible to escape its vision on the ground. It is better to hide and return to the base after Danghu left. After hiding, Luo Yan immediately activated the invisibility feature of the Teoti matrix, and a ripple like water waves appeared on the surface of the mecha, and his figure quickly disappeared into the air. Baman was also hidden not far away. After hiding, Bei released the weird Heli Wu, so that Heli Wu's body like a black cloak covered the Baman. So this magic machine also disappeared into the air. At this moment, the wind was roaring. Along with the sound of the wind, there was a bird cry like an eagle in the sky. Then the strong wind roared past, bringing up dust all over the sky, sweeping through the buildings and streets. Some buildings had been in disrepair for a long time and were already shaky. Now, they collapsed with a loud bang when the strong wind caused by the passing of the Danghu was blown. From a high place, a huge shadow of a flying bat was seen, like a tide, passing quickly across the land of the Forbidden Land. After this shadow passed, strong winds and thick smoke followed, washing the ground of the Forbidden Land. And when the strong winds and thick smoke passed, like sowing seeds, balls of black things would fall from the sky. They were balls of wool. Balls of wool entangled by countless demon hairs. These things fell into the forbidden area, into the ruins of buildings, and rolled into the wreckage of cars. After falling into various places, the wool ball would unwind, and the clumps of black hair would wriggle, spread, and diffuse like living things, thus occupying the ground, making the previous cleaning work of Luo Yan's team useless. Student Luo Yan, look at those things. It turns out that the weird hair was planted by the giant beast. Bei's voice sounded in the communication channel. Luo Yan said it seems that the weird hair should actually be part of Dang Hu's body, its whiskers. This is the truth about the ecology of the forbidden area of Weird Hair City. In the cab of the 8 gates, Bei shuddered when he heard Luo Yan's words. The weird hair of the entire forbidden area is part of Dang Hu's body. In other words, every move of humans in the forbidden area may not escape Dang Hu's eyes. But to Dang Hu, humans are as insignificant as parasites on its body. Even if they are driving mechs, they are not worth mentioning in the eyes of this overlord. Therefore, Dang Hu turned a blind eye to most human activities and ignored them at all. But why did it feel like making a big fuss now, as if humans were threatening it? Bei was puzzled. At this time, in the giant beast radar, Dang Hu had disappeared from the screen. Bei just breathed a sigh of relief, and suddenly, Dang Hu's signal appeared again, and it flew back again. Student Luo Yan, what should we do now? Why is it back again? Luo Yan said in a deep voice, don't be nervous, maybe the giant beast is going back to its nest. Don't move, wait until it leaves. As soon as the voice fell, the sound of violent wind sounded above their heads again. The dust swept the earth again. But this time, in the dust, there was also a muffled sound of dong dong dong. It seemed that something fell from the sky, fell to the ground, and fell into the ruins. Luo Yan's eyes lit up with silver light, and the world in his eyes turned into simple lines, which allowed him to see through the hustle and bustle outside the panoramic window, and see some figures standing up in the ruins. These figures were old and young, male and female. Some were nearly 10 meters tall, while others were as tall as ordinary humans. Began small, tall and short, fat and thin. They were distributed all around. Luo Yan's pupils shrank slightly. He recognized that those figures were the people hanging under Dang Hu, who were hanging in the air, but still maintained some daily living habits. Jiuying, the parasites on the overlord Dang Hu will disguise themselves as humans and imitate human behavior. They are very camouflaged to attract prey to approach. Luo Yan took a breath of cold air. It turned out that what Dang Hu hung under his body was actually its parasite. Shan Heijing recorded, there is a god whose appearance is like a human with 2 heads, and his name is Jiuying. In the classic of mountains and seas, Jiuying is a mountain god with 2 heads, but here, it is a parasite that acts as a bodyguard. When the noise cleared, Bei saw those Jiuying disguised as human forms. These things looked no different from humans from a distance, but now that they fell to the ground, a closer look would reveal that they were different from ordinary ones. Although they looked like humans and were wearing clothes, the skin of those people was shining like insect shells, and those so-called clothes were only similar in color and pattern to clothes, but in fact they were still part of the Jiuying's body. In addition, these Jiuying had 3 or 4 eyes, and from time to time they would open a sandworm-like mouth behind their heads. At this time, the Jiuying stood upright like humans, motionless, and their compound eyes, which looked like insects, flashed a cold light. They were like sculptures, standing there, and no one knew what they were going to do. Student Luo Yan, what are these? In the cab of the Bayan, after hearing Bei's words, Luo Yan said, Jiuying, parasites on the body of the guard. Don't act rashly, wait and see what they are going to do. Just as Luo Yan said this, suddenly, a Jiuying that looked like a child, but was more than 3 meters tall suddenly looked in the direction of the Bayan. Then it lay on the ground, using its hands and feet to quickly crawl to the vicinity. Luo Yan narrowed his eyes slightly, and outside the panoramic window, he saw that the Jiuying was at the feet of the Bayan. The Jiuying's head turned, as if looking for something. Luo Yan looked at the command desk suddenly. Could it be that these things can sense communication signals? At this moment, Yan Wenbo's voice rang out from the communication channel on the command console. Zio Luo, where are you? On the ground, the arrogant insects suddenly looked in other directions, then some crawled on the ground, and some raised pairs of insect wings behind them, and ran away in a flash like the receding tide. Luo Yan quickly turned on the sound peripheral of the mecha, turned the volume to the lowest, and then said, Zio Bei, don't use the communication channel for the time being. I suspect those arrogant insects can track the communication signal. The sound peripheral of Baman was also turned on. What should we do? Should we still reply to the captain? Chapter 755 Fireworks Message. We must reply. We need to remind the captain and the others. Luo Yan said quickly, and pressed a virtual button on the command console. Behind Bayan, a flame shot up into the sky. This flame quickly rushed out from the gap in the building until it reached high altitude, then suddenly exploded and turned into a brilliant purple-red fireworks. On the battlefield, anything can happen. For example, communication equipment failure is a common occurrence. Therefore, the Mecha Corps has a mature method of dealing with it. It is this fireworks communication. Purple-red fireworks represent a failure in the communication equipment, but if combined with fireworks of other colors, it can convey more complex information. Look, another flame shot up behind Bayan, followed by a group of light yellow fireworks. Purple-red plus light yellow means that the communication equipment has been invaded and is being monitored by the enemy. In this way, Yan Wenbo will know how to deal with it. Then, Luo Yan fired another green firework, which meant that the machine that fired the firework was fine. Finally, Luo Yan fired a blue firework, telling Yan Wenbo to meet up at the base. Okay, let's go. After firing a total of 4 fireworks, Luo Yan notified Bei with the Mecha's voice peripheral, and the two left their hiding place and returned to the base. At the same time, in the southwest of the dangerous area of Gifa City, several mechs were covering the core of a mid-level behemoth. One of the mechs, which had a green base color and black stripes, was holding a gun and going deep into a block. In that mecha, a man with a defiant expression whispered, "Don't even think about running." In front of him, a lower level behemoth was moving with difficulty. One of the behemoth's legs was blown off, and it was covered with wounds and bleeding all over its body, leaving a clear blood trail on the rugged ground. Obviously, this green mecha was going to finish off the enemy. At this time, a voice sounded in the communication channel. "Chen Guangli, didn't I tell you not to act on your own? Can you please stop ignoring my words?" The man named Chen Guangli sneered. "Zhao Chang, don't think you are arrogant, just because you are the captain. You can become the captain, but don't you see who is helping you? If my father hadn't invested in you, with your qualifications, could you have become a team leader? Now I'm just a member of your team to gain experience. Before long, I will be the captain like you. So don't take yourself too seriously." There was silence in the communication channel for a while, and then the man named Zhao Chang said in a deep voice, "Chen Guangli, if Mr. Chen hadn't asked me to look after you, do you think I wanted to bring you here? Don't you see which team in the entire corps is willing to take you in? You'd better control your temper, otherwise, you will suffer." Chen Guangli sneered, and simply turned off the communication channel. "Who are you trying to scare? Drinking horse Chen, even the city lord would have to ask you a question in a humble manner. Zhao Chang is nothing, a poor man. I don't know what my father likes about you. TSK, this Zhao, is he the old man's illegitimate son?" At this time, the mecha driven by Chen Guangli had already arrived next to the lower level beast. He did not shoot the beast immediately. He sneered and aimed his rifle at the other leg of the lily. Then he shot and broke the leg of the lily alive. The beast, which looked like a wild boar, but had one eye, let out a whine and fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Chen Guangli controlled the mecha and walked over, stepped on the head of Lili. "Zhao Chang, you are just like this pig. I want to step on you to death. It will take a minute." The muzzle of the gun was pressed under the single eye of Lili. Bang! The head of Lili opened fire, and the blood spurted out, splashing on a nearby building like rain. The blood flowed down, forming a pool of blood, flooding the chassis of several cars. Done. Chen Guangli hung up his gun, and the mecha hung a dagger, to dig out the core of the giant beast. At this time, he caught a glimpse of the distant sky, and 4 fireworks bloomed in succession. What is that? When he joined the Mecha Corps, he also received training. The instructor talked about the content of fireworks transmission early in the morning. Chen Guangli listened, but did not remember it seriously, and only had a general impression. Now when he saw those fireworks, he only remembered that purple-red fireworks represented communication failure. He laughed. Which unlucky guy has a communication failure? Who cares? It would be better if they all died. If they all die, no one will compete with me for the credit. Chen Guangli dug out the core of the giant beast quickly and stored it in the recycling box and then prepared to leave. At this time, outside the panoramic window, Chen Guangli saw a figure crawling out from behind the overpass on the street in the distance. It was a baby, a 5-meter tall baby. It had 3 insect-like compound eyes on its face. It seemed to sense Chen Guangli's sight and turned its head to look at the mecha. What the hell is this? Is there such a thing in the forbidden area? Chen Guangli glanced at the radar. The giant beast radar did not respond, indicating that the thing opposite was not a giant beast. The mecha could not help but take a step back. Chen Guangli controlled the mecha to turn around and planned to leave from another direction. Unexpectedly, as soon as the mecha turned around, it saw a large and small figure appearing in the back street. There were men, women, children and the elderly. Some were crawling on the ground, some picked up cars with a curious look on their faces, some leaned against the outer wall of the building, and some crawled on the wall like insects. But without exception, these people all looked at Chen Guangli. Chen Guangli's scalp suddenly numbed, and suddenly there was a violent shock behind him. It was the baby that appeared behind the overpass, crashed the overpass, crawled over quickly, and crashed into Chen Guangli's mecha again. This baby was nothing compared to the mecha, but it jumped up and hit the mecha with all its strength, causing it to shake. Then another giant nearly 10 meters tall ran straight towards the mecha where Chen Guangli was, but the mecha had already raised its rifle, and flames were spurting out of the muzzle. The bullets used on the giant beast fell on the giant, immediately smashing the giant's upper body. "Get out of here, you bastards!" Chen Guangli yelled in the cab, but at this time, he saw outside the panoramic window that some people actually opened their wings like insects, then flew up and rushed towards the mecha with a buzzing sound. Chen Guangli yelled, controlled the mecha, and shot at these monsters with the help of the computer. These things were the parasites of the guards. Prideful insects. They kept emerging from the hair, from the buildings, and from the streets around, silently rushing towards Chen Guangli. At this moment, Chen Guangli was undoubtedly the one who attracted much attention, but he himself did not like this. Soon, due to the large number of proud insects, figures were already crawling on the green and black striped mecha. As soon as the proud insects climbed onto the mecha, they turned their heads around, then opened their sandworm-like mouthparts, and began to gnaw on the mecha's outer armor, cables, oil pipes, and other items. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 756 Bloody Dusk. Alarm. Alarm. The outer armor is damaged. The overall damage is 11%. Alarm. The body's nerve wires are damaged, and the overall speed of nerve transmission signals is reduced by 8%. Alarm. In the cab, various alarms made Chen Guangli's head hurt. He didn't expect there would be so many arrogant insects. If he knew that so many giants would appear, he would have run away long ago. Now he is stuck in the mud. Get out of the way. Don't come over. You can't kill them all. You can't kill them all. The feet of the green and black lined mecha were crawling with arrogant insects. Although the mecha fired and swept, it was unable to focus on one thing and lost another, and was soon crushed to the ground by a large number of arrogant insects. At this time, looking out from the panoramic window, a group of strange human faces outside were stuck on the window and looked at Chen Guangli. Then the arrogant insect turned its head, and a mouthpart opened at the back of its head, and the large and small mouthparts bit the panoramic window. The thrilling cracks made Chen Guangli's heart beat fast. What should I do? What should I do? I don't want to die here. Zhao Chang, yes, Zhao Chang, come and save me. At this moment, Chen Guangli remembered that he had just turned off the communication channel. He was in a hurry to open the communication channel, but an alarm sounded. The communication system has a fault and cannot communicate with the outside world. Fuck. Chen Guangli screamed and then tried to open the emergency escape system, but the computer prompted him that the hatch of the escape capsule was stuck and the escape function could not be activated. It could only be used after the fault was eliminated. No. No. Chen Guangli slapped the command console excitedly. Open it for me. Open it for me. At this moment, the panoramic window made a click, and a small corner broke out. The fragments fell, and hit Chen Guangli's helmet. Chen Guangli raised his head, and saw a woman reaching her hand into the cab, with 5 fingers spread out and grabbing him. Don't touch me. Get out. Chen Guangli took out a pistol and shot at the hand that was grabbing him. He shot off several fingers, and blood splattered all over him. He tried hard to wipe the blood off his helmet, and saw that the hand finally stopped 10 centimeters away from him. He breathed a sigh of relief. But the panoramic window made a crackling sound, and more fragments fell. One by one, arms reached into the cab, and grabbed Chen Guangli. This scene almost drove Chen Guangli crazy, and he even thought of committing suicide. At this moment, he suddenly saw a stream of fire gushing out of the panoramic window. The raging fire washed over those giants, making them burn, scream, and pull their hands back, and disappear outside the panoramic window. The road was shaking. A Bigfoot with scratched armor stepped down, crushing the road, and shaking the wreckage of the car next to it. In the glass curtain wall of the building window, a silver-white mecha flashed by. The mecha held a flamethrower, and sprayed a hot stream of fire from the muzzle, sweeping back and forth against the proud insects on Chen Guangli's body. The insects disguised as humans screamed, and fled from Chen Guangli's mecha quickly, but many of them were still burned black, and broke into pieces when touched. When the outer armor of Chen Guangli's body was smoked black and shiny red, there were no arrogant insects nearby, only a black scorched ground. In the cab, Chen Guangli reacted, and turned on the sound peripheral of the mecha and shouted, "Zhao Chang, why are you here now? Don't tell me you don't know I was attacked. You did it on purpose. You are taking revenge on me." He cursed while controlling the mecha to climb up from the ground. The sound peripheral of the silver-white mecha was also turned on. "Shut up. If it weren't for Mr. Chen, I wouldn't bother to save you. Leave here now. It's getting dark, and the forbidden area is twice as dangerous at night. If you don't want to stay here to feed the insects, follow me." After saying that, the silver-white mecha turned around and walked away. Chen Guangli said bitterly, "Just wait for me, Zhao, we are not done yet." At this moment, a spectral signal suddenly appeared in the radar of the behemoth, which had been silent all the time. Red signal. Almost at the same time, the sound of birds chirping rang out in the sky. Chen Guangli looked up and saw a black shadow swooping down from the sky. The black shadow was flying at high speed, and under the sunlight, it actually had a metallic luster! Exclamation mark. The wind was howling. The black shadow crashed straight into Chen Guangli's mecha. At this moment, the silver-white mecha knocked Chen Guangli away. Looking out of the panoramic window, Chen Guangli saw Zhao Chang's mecha being knocked to the ground by the black shadow that fell from the sky. Boom. The earth shook. The road surface sank, cracks spread, and then the ground rose and fell. The building was shattered, and then the dust and smoke from the impact sprayed into the sky. Chen Guangli's mecha staggered like a drunk, staggering back, and stopped only when it hit a building. In the cab, Chen Guangli calmed down and looked at the block in front of him. A huge shallow pit had been created there, and the surrounding buildings had collapsed. The silver-white machine body was lying on the ground, and a claw with a metallic luster was pulled out from the chest of the machine body, bringing up pieces of parts and debris. Chen Guangli's pupils shrank slightly. Only then did he see clearly that it was a two-headed bird, which was shaped like a magpie. Its entire body, including every feather, was shining with a metallic luster. Matching is over. The results are as follows. Codename. Level, upper level 2. Type, feathered insect. Features, fire control, flame transformation, tempering, wind raising. The computer matched the information of this two-headed bird, and it turned out to be a upper level behemoth. The 4 feet of the stepped on Zhao Chang's machine body. The metallic luster on its body was fading, and it withdrew from the tempered posture and returned to red with black feathers. Then the two heads simultaneously sprayed black and red flames, and the flames were like waterfalls, washing over the silver-white mecha. Even though he was in the cab, Chen Guangli could still feel the blazing heat. He couldn't believe Zhao Chang was in the mecha at that moment. The panoramic window of the silver-white mecha melted in an instant, and the flames rushed into the cab. The mecha master inside was burned to death before he could even scream. Chen Guangli watched all this and suddenly reacted, turning the mecha around and running. He didn't dare to look back for fear of being spotted by the two-headed bird. This afternoon, from the time Dang Hu flew out of the high wall to the time the sun set, there were 48 incidents of attacks by giant beasts and proud insects, and a total of 5 mechs were destroyed. In the evening, the sunset was as red as blood, making the whole sky full of red clouds. In the camp, Luo Yan stood on the shoulder of Bayan until he saw the 2 mechs Xiu and Fidian safely enter the parking area. He was relieved. Then he looked towards the forbidden area, looking at the city in the distance, bathed in blood-red light, and a trace of uneasiness flashed through his heart. Chapter 757. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Are you not injured? Luo Yan and the other 3 met in the barracks. As the team leader, Yan Wenbo naturally cared about Luo Yan and Bei's situation. As soon as they met, Luo Yan shook his head. After we separated, Dang Hu chased us. Xiao Bei and I hid. Yan Wenbo unzipped his driver's suit to breathe. You used fireworks to send a message before, saying that the communication equipment was monitored? Luo Yan nodded. It was the giant beast parasite on Dang Hu. Those things seem to be able to sense communication signals. When the captain sent a message, they sensed it and tracked the signal. Xiao Bei and I took the opportunity to escape. Dugu Changxin took off his driver's suit, wearing only a black vest. Parasitics, are they those things that look like humans? I was wondering where these disgusting things came from. The captain and I took a lot of effort to get rid of them. Yan Wenbo took out a kettle and poured a few sips of boiling water into his mouth. Anyway, it's okay as long as everyone is okay. When I came back, I heard from other teams that they were attacked in the forbidden area. In addition to the giant beast parasites, there are also giant beasts. Several unlucky guys even lost their lives in the forbidden area. It's just the beginning, and someone has already lost his life. The contribution points of this operation commission are not so easy to get. Luo Yan sat down. The abnormality in the afternoon should be related to the activities of the guards. I opened the Shenzang and saw that there is something like a mountain inside the high wall, but it should not be a mountain. It is too regular and does not look like a natural creation. In addition, on the top of the mountain, there are many flying beasts hovering, as if protecting something. Yan Wenbo put down the kettle, rubbed his face and said, in short, our exploration mission is accomplished, and the big guys will worry about the rest. I will organize the report and hand in the task. Bei stood up and raised his hand and said, I will go to get everyone food. Luo Yan also stood up, I will go with you. The two left the barracks and walked towards the camp restaurant. There were many people coming and going on the road. Some of them were smiling, and it was estimated that they had made great gains today. Some were frowning, and some were injured. While waiting in line for food, Luo Yan saw Bei take out a box, open it, take out a pill from it, and swallow it directly. Seeing Luo Yan looking at her, Bei quickly put the box away and said, now I'm already in the advanced realm. Although I'm still affected by the weirdness, my mental state is much more stable than before. But I still have to take the medicine on time, otherwise I might not be in a good state one day, and the weirdness will go out of control and attack me. Bei felt more and more guilty, and there was a voice in her heart shouting, why are you telling him this? Do you want to scare him away? Don't tell him this. Who wants to be with a psychopath? But at this moment, Bei suddenly felt her palm warm. She looked over and saw that a big hand was holding her. Then a voice came from above her head. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Simple. 2 sentences. 4 words. But it seemed to inject infinite power into Bei, making her heart bloom with a whole spring. A moment later, Luo Yan and the others returned to the barracks. Captain, this is yours. Brother Changxin, this is yours. By the way, the restaurant also sent some fruits. You can try them too. Bacon quickly put the lunch boxes into the hands of Yan Wenbo and Dugu Changxin and hummed a song, even walking like he was about to jump up. He picked up his lunch box, opened it, sat on the chair, and ate his meal with his feet swinging. Well, it's obviously summer. Why do I feel like spring is coming? Yan Wenbo threw a piece of orange into his mouth and said with a smile, Dugu Changxin, with his long silver hair, glanced at him. What did you say? I don't understand a word. Yan Wenbo looked at him. It's normal that you don't understand, Changxin. After all, you are alone. I won't blame you if you don't understand. Dugu Changxin raised his eyebrows, picked up the lunchbox, and started eating. After the meal, Yan Wenbo wiped his mouth and said, the mission rewards have been distributed. Not bad. Basic reward 1000 contribution points. 100% exploration progress 2000 contribution points. Recovering the high wall weird hair specimens 500 contribution points. Discovering the parasite has the characteristic of tracking signals. 500 contribution points. Cleaning up the weird hair in the exploration area. 200 contribution points. Killing 3 mid-level behemoths 2100 contribution points. Adding these together, we earned 6300 contribution points on today's mission. Yan Wenbo cleared his throat and said, I plan to distribute it like this. Basic reward, exploration progress reward, weird hair specimen reward, and weird hair cleaning reward total 3700 contribution points, which will be divided equally among the 4 of us. The parasite characteristic was discovered by Luo Yan, so the reward belongs to him. Is everyone okay with it? As for the behemoth reward, Luo Yan and Xiao Bei will each get 700 points, and Changxin and I will share the reward for the 9-tailed sheep. That's basically it. No one had an objection to Yan Wenbo's distribution. In this way, Luo Yan received 2125 contribution points today. By the way, Yan Wenbo scratched his head and said, at night, there were several more search and rescue missions in the mission system. The missions were issued by several dungeons such as Changping, Yinme, and Penglei. They have a team that lost contact in the forbidden area, but these dungeons have limited personnel here and cannot carry out rescue operations themselves. So a search and rescue mission was issued. Bei asked curiously, can other dungeons also issue missions? Of course. Yan Wenbo took out a tablet computer, and the mission rewards are also contribution points. Dugu Changxin put down the lunchbox. Aren't contribution points only provided by the giant beast strategic mansion? Yan Wenbo said, while swiping on the computer. Of course not. Every year, the strategic mansion will give each dungeon a fixed number of contribution points. In addition, rewards will be given depending on the contribution made by the dungeon. Take the last time we destroyed the Misty Canyon, for example, our Guangling got a contribution point. It's just that this contribution point belongs to the dungeon and the core, and we personally can't access it, but the dungeon also rewarded us in other ways. So the dungeon has contribution points, and this contribution point can be freely distributed. That is to say, contribution points can be used for transactions in dungeons, and they can also be used to issue tasks. Luo Yan then stretched out his hand and said, can I take a look at those tasks? Yan Wenbo directly put the computer in his hand. Take a look. I think the rewards are not bad. You can consider taking 1 or 2. Luo Yan directly flipped to the task page issued by Changping City, opened the detailed information, and found out that Ma Shuo's team had lost contact. Changping City issued a search and rescue mission for them. Finding or providing relevant clues about this team can get 500 contribution points. If they are rescued, 2000 contribution points will be given as a reward. Ma Shuo. Looking at the photo of the missing pilot on the screen, Luo Yan's mind flashed back to the scene of meeting them at the base yesterday. Chapter 758 Bearded Ghost. Night fell. The clouds in the sky were thick tonight, and there was no moonlight. This was an unusual phenomenon. The sunset was bright in the evening, but as soon as it got dark, the wind got stronger, and the clouds that floated from nowhere covered the night sky. Meng Fanxi took water and field rations, and walked into a room, where they were temporarily staying. The room was very messy, with debris piled on the floor, and a worn-out sofa placed in a relatively clean corner. Xiaorong lay on the sofa with her eyes closed and heavy breathing. Her condition was not good. In the afternoon, their team was attacked by a swarm of insects. With a large number of arrogant insects and an upper level, they had no choice but to escape. When the 3 mechs were escaping, Xiaorong's mecha was unfortunately targeted and destroyed by the upper level giant beast. It was Ma Shuo who risked his life to rescue Xiaorong from the cab. After that, they luckily got rid of the giant beast and the arrogant insect, but they were also trapped here, and because the communication equipment was damaged in the battle, they could not get in touch with the surface base. How is Sister Rang? Meng Fanxi put his things down and looked at the sofa. Ma Shuo picked up the kettle and said, not very good. Although I gave her an emergency injection, we can't cure her under our current conditions. We have to send her to the base as soon as possible. Coming to the sofa, Ma Shuo squatted down, unscrewed the lid of the kettle, and gently lifted Xiaorang's head. Drink some water, Xiaorang. You have to hold on. We can go back to the base tomorrow. You'll be fine. Xiaorang, who closed her eyes, but was still conscious, nodded. She opened her mouth and drank a few sips. Ma Shuo then put her back on the sofa. Meng Fanxi finished the battlefield rations in a few mouthfuls and said, I'll go to keep watch. Ma Shuo nodded. I'll take your place in the second half of the night. Returning to his mecha, Meng Fanxi put on his helmet, connected to the empathy system, and scanned the surroundings. They were in a residential area, and the location was relatively hidden. The nearby buildings collapsed, forming a natural bunker. Meng Fanxi's mecha was hidden behind this huge bunker, with a sniper rifle set up to monitor the surrounding situation. Using the infrared vision function of the mecha, Meng Fanxi was able to observe every blade of grass and tree nearby. The strange hair in the community had been cleaned up by them, but outside the community, strange hair could still be seen everywhere. Even without wind, those strange long hair would wriggle from time to time, as if they had their own life. This is the most iconic ecology in the Weird Hair City and the most important part of the giant beast ecology in this forbidden area. I hope I can leave smoothly tomorrow, Meng Fanxi muttered, and at this moment, on the blood red screen under infrared vision, he suddenly saw that in a bus outside the community, some strange hair suddenly wriggled and entangled together. Gradually, those strange long hairs woven into a human shape, and a person of normal male height appeared in the bus. The hair around this person fluttered, and it wandered in the bus with gentle movements. It kept walking back and forth, as if it couldn't find a way to leave the bus. When it faced the camera, Meng Fanxi saw that this human figure woven by the strange hair actually had facial features, and two pale lights were floating in the eye sockets. Bearded ghost. Meng Fanxi suddenly remembered all the rumors about the strange hair city. Among them, the bearded ghost can undoubtedly be listed in the top 3 of the most terrifying strange things. This kind of thing only moves in dangerous areas and close to the core area. They are unaware and will wander all night once they appear. If you look at them, you will lose consciousness and never wake up, becoming a vegetable. Some people say that people who look at bearded ghosts will have their souls taken away and become one of the bearded ghosts. As for whether this is true, it is estimated that only the witnesses know, and there is no case of witnesses waking up after a coma, so naturally there is no way to confirm it. With the help of infrared vision, Meng Fanxi saw that more and more bearded ghosts emerged. Outside the community, the strange hair swayed, weaving a line of figures. In a blink of an eye, the outside of the community was full of bearded ghosts of all sizes. The bearded ghosts were as big as adults, and some were as tall as 70 to 80 meters, comparable to the height of mechs. They walked on the streets and wandered between buildings, with pale lights of varying sizes floating in the dark night, like ghost lights in a cemetery. 100 ghosts parading at night. Meng Fanxi had experienced the hallucination of the Misty Canyon and participated in the battle against the Overlord of the Sky. Although the bearded ghosts were terrifying, he was not scared to the point of losing his composure, so he quickly notified Ma Shuo. Meng Fanxi picked up a short walkie-talkie. Captain, the bearded ghosts were found, and they are wandering outside the community. A gasp came from the walkie-talkie. It's at this time. Ma Shuo said, close the panoramic window immediately, don't let those things find you. Hide in the cab, and don't come out. If you are discovered by the bearded ghost, remember not to look them in the eye. Meng Fanxi nodded. Captain, what about you? Ma Shuo smiled. Don't worry, I will take Xiaorang back to the mecha now. Then you have to be careful. After speaking, Meng Fanxi cut off the communication and was about to close the panoramic window when he suddenly found a dark figure lying outside the panoramic window. Countless beards and hairs were wriggling and entangled, like a mess. This bearded ghost was lying outside the panoramic window, looking away, and making a mmm sound from his mouth. Meng Fang's joints seemed to be injected with lead paste, motionless and extremely stiff. After a few seconds, he hurriedly lowered his head and closed the panoramic window. Meng Fangxi didn't dare to raise his head until the computer prompted that the panoramic window had been completely closed. He was relieved that he could no longer see the outside scene in the cab. He then activated the camera on the outside of the mecha to keep an eye on the situation outside. From the picture, we can see a huge bearded ghost lying on a residential building, with his hands on the rooftop, supporting his chin. On that innocent face, that looked like a child, 2 huge pale lights were floating in the eye sockets, and meaningless sounds such as and oh were emitted from the mouth from time to time. It's really weird. Meng Fangxi took out a blanket from the base drawer of the seat, and covered himself with it. There was actually a sleeping bag inside, but Meng Fangxi didn't dare to sleep in such a place. I still remember that last time in the Misty Canyon, he entered a hallucination in his sleep and almost killed his companions in his sleep. Now he is spending the night in the forbidden area again, and he dare not sleep at all. Time passed by little. As time went by, those unconscious bearded ghosts slowly wandered around, and began to wander into the community. Meng Fangxi stared at the screen, using the bearded ghosts to distract himself, and to prevent himself from falling asleep. At this time, he saw that the bearded ghost wandering in the bus finally found the door, and got out of the bus. The bearded ghost staggered, and suddenly turned his head to look in the direction of the camera, revealing a strange smile on his middle-aged face. Chapter 759, Penetrating Everywhere. Meng Fangxi quickly turned his eyes away from the screen, his heart pounding. After a moment, he found that he was not unconscious, and he breathed a sigh of relief. I should have met the eyes of the bearded ghost just now, right? So, as long as you don't look directly at each other, you won't be possessed. You can use instruments to observe them. As long as you don't look directly at each other, it's okay. Although he had such a guess, Meng Fangxi was still cautious when he looked at the screen again, fearing that he would meet the eyes of another bearded ghost. Fortunately, the bearded ghost on the screen did not look at the camera again, but the things scattered in the community began to walk towards the mecha. It seemed that the mecha absorbed their attention, making them stagger, like drunkards, towards Meng Fangxi and Ma Shuo's mecha. At this time, Ma Shuo's voice sounded in the shortwave walkie-talkie. Fangxi, do you see? Those things are coming towards us. Meng Fangxi picked up the walkie-talkie. I saw it too, Captain. What should we do now? Ma Shuo's voice was full of hesitation. How about we wait and see, in case they just passed by us? Meng Fangxi knew that he was worried that, if he acted now, it would cause greater variables and make Xiaorang's injuries worse. Okay, if there is danger, let's evacuate immediately. I will lead the way. At this moment, Meng Fangxi said it without hesitation. There was silence in the intercom for a moment, and then Ma Shuo said, "Thank you." Meng Fangxi did not respond. He looked at the screen and found that the giant bearded ghost that had been lying on the building with its chin supported was now crawling on the ground like a baby. Even though it was so huge, this giant bearded ghost was still silent during its actions. Meng Fangxi could not hear any unusual noises outside. If there were no external cameras, it would be hard to believe that such a large number of bearded ghosts were moving, and there was no sound outside. Oh, woo. The giant bearded ghost kept making meaningless sounds, crawled to the side of Meng Fangxi's mecha, and then raised its head to observe the mecha. Meng Fangxi's nerves suddenly tensed up. From the screen, a huge, black face made of countless strange hairs appeared in front of the camera. The face was so big that Meng Fangxi could only see the mouth of the bearded ghost. "Fangxi, it's staring at you," Ma Shuo said nervously on the intercom. "Let's do it. Let's get out of here." Meng Fangxi said in a deep voice. "Wait a minute, Captain. Let's wait and see." At this time, the mouth of the bearded ghost on the screen opened, and a tongue stretched out from it. The tongue gradually split into several strands of strange hair. These strands of strange hairs were like forked tongue roots, wandering on the surface of the mecha, as if exploring something. Meng Fangxi pressed both hands on the floating point controller, and if he found something wrong, he would attack violently. But at this time, the tongue of the bearded ghost shrank back after wandering for a while, and then turned around, as if he had no interest, crawled a few steps, reached out to catch some small bearded ghosts, and threw them into his mouth. Oh. The giant bearded ghost crawled to the open space in front, and suddenly rolled over there, like a baby playing with itself. This ghost thing is really scary. Marshuo's voice sounded in the intercom. Mengfax's hands also left the floating point controller, and he breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that it didn't find us. I hope so. Marshuo muttered, but that thing is rolling around near us. It seems that tonight will be very difficult. Mengfaxi was about to respond, but he saw on the screen that the giant bearded ghost had rolled near Marshuo's mecha. At this moment, the bearded ghost suddenly jumped up and pounced on Marshuo's mecha. Decisive action. Clear goal. It was completely different from what happened just now. Marshuo cursed in the intercom, and the energy furnace of his mecha immediately roared. The engine emitted light, and the eyes of the mecha lit up, illuminating the dark night. Mengfaxi also started the mech, using the external camera to capture the scene outside the window, to avoid direct eye contact with the bearded ghost. He saw that after the giant bearded ghost pounced on Marshuo's mech, its body immediately melted and turned into thousands of strange hairs, like a woman hugging her lover, entangled with Marshuo's mech. Mengfaxi could see clearly that those strange hairs were moving up and down the mech's body, clearly looking for a gap to drill in. He hurriedly reminded, "Captain, close all the vents of the mech. That thing is looking for a gap to drill in." Marshuo replied concisely on the intercom, "I know." Mengfaxi picked up the flamethrower and wanted to disinfect Marshuo's mech, but at this time, the bearded ghosts near him also ran over. That enthusiasm was like a dog seeing a bone, and they pounced on it one by one. Once they pounced on the mech, their bodies scattered into clumps of strange long hair, desperately looking for a gap to drill in. Mengfaxi was startled and quickly closed all the vents of the mecha, then controlled the mecha to reach out and pull, but there was no way to pull it all out. In the intercom, Marshuo shouted, "Don't pull it, use fire. Come on, let's help each other and burn all these things." Mengfaxi looked at the screen. On the screen, Marshuo set up a flamethrower, and the surrounding demon hairs rushed to the flamethrower and drilled into the muzzle. They thought they could enter the mecha there, but what was waiting for them was a blazing fire and dazzling light. Boom. In the muzzle of the flamethrower, a ball of red light like egg yolk first lit up, and suddenly a blazing flame sprayed out from it. Countless demon hairs were sprayed out of the muzzle by the fierce flames, and then burned to ashes in the flames. A fire dragon crossed the space, and the hot breath swept the coolness of the night. The orange-yellow flames licked Mengfaxi's mecha, causing all the demon hairs attached to it to burn. Mengfaxi did not dare to neglect, and also spit out a dragon of fire, sweeping the demon hair on Marshuo's mecha. The two controlled the mechas and cleared the demon hair on each other's bodies, and soon cleaned up the things on them. "Let's go," Marshuo shouted, and controlled the mecha to rush out of the community. Mengfaxi followed closely and reopened the panoramic window for easy observation. At the same time, the lights on the outside of the mecha were also turned on. Suddenly, a series of bright lights illuminated the surroundings, allowing Mengfaxi and the cab to clearly see that on the windows of the buildings in front of him, there were constantly bearded ghosts jumping out. These things rushed to the two mechas, and once they jumped on the mechas, they turned into primitive demon hair, looking for opportunities to invade the inside of the mechas. Chapter 760, Facing a Formidable Enemy. The night is endless. On a moonless night, the forbidden area is pitch black. Outside the panoramic window, lights flickered, and in the light, countless bearded ghosts rushed towards the mecha like demons and monsters. Marshuo controlled the mecha, and the flames ejected from the muzzle almost never stopped. The raging flames roared and burned the bearded ghosts, but even so, these monsters seemed endless. Marshuo took the time to check on Jiuying's condition from time to time. Jiuying was placed on a stretcher bed by him and then fixed with a safety rope. In addition, the cab has a fully adaptive balance system, so no matter what state the mecha is in, the cab will remain in its original state. Even if the battle is fierce, there is no need to worry about Jiuying falling off the bed, but bumps are inevitable. Marshuo is worried whether she can hold on until they break out of the siege and return to the base. As if she felt Marshuo's gaze, Jiuying still said with her eyes closed, "Don't worry about me, I'm not that delicate." Marshuo laughed. "I'm not worried, my woman. Marshuo won't die so easily." "Bah, who is your woman? Just focus on driving." Jiuying smiled weakly and then stopped talking. "We will definitely get out. Believe me," Marshuo whispered. At this moment, the Behemoth radar suddenly sounded an alarm. Marshuo glanced at the radar screen and couldn't help but take a breath. A red spectrum signal appeared on the radar, and this signal was coming towards them quickly. Meng Fang's voice rang in the shortwave walkie-talkie. "Captain, there is a Behemoth. Up level." Marshuo responded in a deep voice. "I saw it. It's probably because they were attracted by the battle between us and Zugi. Fangxi, come here. Take Jiuying away." In the intercom, Meng Fangxi immediately said, "Captain, what are you talking about? If we want to leave, we all leave together." Marshuo yelled, "Don't be so dawdling. That's the upper level. The upper level. With just 2 of us, we can't beat it. If I don't stay to cover you, none of us can leave." Meng Fangxi was silent for a while and said, "Then I'll stay and cover you and Sister Jiuying. Get out. We don't have the rule in our Changping Corps to let the team members stay to cover the rear and let the captain escape." Marshuo refused without thinking and said, "Come here right now, or we'll all be doomed." Meng Fangxi sighed, "Okay." But at this moment, the spectrum signal on the radar suddenly accelerated. So Marshuo and the others could hear a bird chirping in the sky. A little tepid light appeared, and the warm orange-red light appeared in the sky, like the sun in the dark night. However, the light grew rapidly, and Marshuo and the others could see clearly that it was not the sun at night. It was a giant beast. A feathered beast. 2 heads. 4 legs. Its whole body was burning with flames, as if its body was made of flames. Codename. Level. Upper level 2. Type. Feathered insect. Features. Fire control. Flame transformation. Tempering. Wind raising. At this time, the computer matched the information of the giant beast. The feathered beast was the upper level. Its whole body was now flamed. The high heat flames had formed an amazing heat before they approached, causing many bearded ghosts on the ground to spontaneously combust without fire. These demons and monsters fled quickly. Flames were their natural enemies, not to mention the giant beasts like that could control flames. Was incredibly fast, turning into a meteor and instantly falling to the ground. Fire broke out outside the panoramic windows of the 2 mechs. Marshuo's eyes went white and his whole body was shaking, as if he was put into an oil barrel and rolled down the hill. His ears were filled with deafening noises and countless chaotic and sharp noises. I don't know how long it took. It may have been only a few seconds, or it may have been a few minutes. Marshuo finally regained his vision and saw that his mecha was embedded in a building. The streets around him were blazing with flames, and there were embers everywhere, and green smoke was curling. Meng Fang's mecha was also lying in the ruins, with electric fire flashing on the mecha, flickering flames, and thick smoke. Fortunately, the mecha seemed to be able to operate. Soon, a stream of dry powder smoke was ejected from the mecha body, isolating the flames and oxygen to extinguish the fire and smoke, preventing further damage to the body. Damn, is it too late? Marshuo quickly checked the damage to the body and looked back at Jiuying. In the vibration just now, Jiuying seemed to have fainted, but the life monitoring instrument beside the bed still showed her heartbeat. Marshuo was relieved. "Fangxi, how are you?" Marshuo picked up the intercom and shouted, "I'm fine. Captain, I'll be there right now." Meng Fangxi answered quickly. At this time, the sound of birds chirping rang out. The firelight became bright and dazzling again outside the panoramic window. Marshuo looked and saw flames rising in a pit not far away. In the firelight, a large 2-headed bird flapped its wings and rose from the flames. At this time, Meng Fangxi rushed over in a mecha. Marshuo shouted hurriedly, "Don't come over." Suddenly, the rush towards Meng Fang's mecha caught the mecha named and then flapped its wings to take the mecha to the sky. The body was light in weight, and the only flapped its wings a few times to get the mecha's feet off the ground. "Let me go." Meng Fangxi raised his sniper rifle and shot at but the bullet melted as soon as it hit the flames of In a blink of an eye, the mecha had been lifted up to a height of more than 10 meters. "Fangxi, Marshall grabbed the intercom and shouted, "Get out of the mecha, hurry." At this moment, a cold light flashed in the darkness in the distance. Marshall only glanced at it and felt as if his eyes were cut and stung. Before he could investigate, a golden rainbow light broke through the air and passed through one of the wings of the flaming wing was actually cut off by the rainbow light. The flames on the wing quickly dimmed and it turned back into a huge wing, falling heavily to the ground. The let out a hissing sound. It could no longer maintain balance and fly without a wing. It let go of and fell to the ground in a spin. It pressed into a shopping mall and crushed the building to pieces. "What's going on?" They landed safely and Meng Fang's voice rang in the intercom. "I don't know. Something is coming," Marshall said. At this time, they stood up from the ruins of the mall, flapping its remaining wings, as if facing a formidable enemy. Then, it let out a cry. Every feather on its body stood up, and then, like thousands of arrows, tens of millions of flaming feathers shot into the air, then whistled down, forming a huge funnel-like shape that covered most of the night sky. Chapter 761 Escape from Danger. What kind of existence is it? Does it require a top-level behemoth to go all out? Marshall didn't know, but he knew that this might be their turning point tonight. In the distant sky, fire feathers were flying, as if a rainstorm had begun. Raindrops fell into the darkness. It was already late at night, and thick fog had risen in the forbidden area at some point. The thick fog made the scene in the distance blurry. Even if the rain of fire fell, stirring up circles of flame ripples, it was difficult for people to see what was behind the ripples. Marshall and the others only felt that the ground was shaking as the unknown existence approached. The vibration became stronger and stronger. Finally, they saw a huge figure rushing out of the thick fog. A large shield condensed with energy barriers was raised in front of him, blocking most of his body. An ancient Han sword was plowing the ground, and the tip of the sword tore a hole in the ground, creating a trail of sparks. The golden light, as hot and dazzling as the sun, flowed around the body, outlining a golden outline, and the figure was reflected, as if it was a god descending on Earth. Mecha. Marshall and the others were excited. Mecha, that means friendly forces, support. The mecha that had just cut off one of the wings of the wither sword now raised its shield and charged forward against the attack of the giant bird. It passed by the mechs and Marshall in an instant and strode towards the upper level beast, shattering the ground with every step. The two heads of the roared and two fire dragons spewed out of its mouth, bombarding the mecha. The mecha marched forward with great speed against the fire flow, breaking layer after layer of energy barriers. When the last layer of barriers was broken, the large shield flowing with golden light swept across. The two heads of the were knocked back, and then the Han sword was raised and swept across. When the sword was about to cut through the two long necks of the neck of the feathered beast suddenly changed from flame to steel. The Han sword slashed on it, scraping out a brilliant spark, but it did not cut off the neck of the. At this time, the S-body had turned into steel. The pilot in the mecha was not afraid. He raised his legs high and kicked hard, kicking them backwards. It crashed into the roof of a building and slid down from the outer wall. The steel feathers tore through many windows and outer walls along the way and rolled down to the ground with thousands of rubbles. Bang! They fell heavily to the ground. The two-headed bird screamed, flapped its single wing, fanned the burning wind, and tried to support its body. It was not until then that Marshall and the others saw the appearance of the mecha clearly. They exclaimed at the same time. "Bian, Luoyan." In the cockpit, Luoyan turned on the sound peripheral of the mecha. "Are you okay?" Marshall and the others' communication equipment was damaged, and the communication channel could not be used normally, otherwise they would not have lost contact with the base. So Luoyan directly used the sound peripheral to communicate. Marshall also quickly turned on the sound peripheral. "We are fine, but Xiaorong is injured and needs to be sent to the doctor." Meng Fangxi said, "Why are you here?" Luoyan said, "Changping City issued a search and rescue mission, and I accepted the mission. I will talk about the details when I get back. Leave this to me, you go first." While speaking, Luoyan activated the secret method, and the fuselage of the Bian immediately seemed to be flowing with a ball of blood plasma, and then a ball of blood spread out, turning the surrounding land into a pool of blood. Secret method, blood pagoda. At this time, the two-headed giant bird flapped its wings, and the steel feathers were like bullets fired by a machine gun, tearing through the air, rubbing red, and whistling towards the Bian. Bian raised his big shield Zuan Wu, and suddenly there was a clanging sound like iron hammering on the battlefield. When the sound disappeared, and the shield was put down, Luo Yan saw that the two-headed bird had run away. I'm not seeing wrong, this guy scared Shangji away. In the cab, Ma Shuo was stunned, unable to believe the scene in front of him. At this time, Xiaoran groaned, which made him come back to his senses. He said quickly, "Don't chase the desperate enemy. This forbidden area is dangerous at night. It will be bad if you are surrounded." Luo Yang nodded and responded, "Let's go, I'll take you back." When it was dawn, in the base treatment center, a stretcher was quickly pushed to the operating room. Ma Shuo and Meng Fangxi followed behind, and they stopped only after watching Xiaorang enter the operating room. Every second that followed was torture for them, especially Ma Shuo. He held his head, squatted in the corner, and said nothing. The operation lasted for 2 hours. As soon as the door of the operating room opened, Ma Shuo immediately jumped up and looked at the doctor with bloodshot eyes. "Doctor, our female team member, she. Don't worry." The doctor took off his mask and smiled. Although the injured person's condition is quite serious, she was sent here in time and is out of danger. But next, she can't go on missions anymore and needs to rest for a while. Okay. Thank you, doctor." Only then did Ma Shuo's square face smile. After thanking the doctor, Ma Shuo looked at a figure in the distance of the passage. Luo Yan. He was still wearing a driving suit and holding a helmet in his hand. After sending Xiaorang here with Ma Shuo, he also waited outside the operating room. Ma Shuo walked over and tapped Luo Yan's chest lightly. "Brother, let's not talk anymore. If you have any difficulties in the future, just let me know. If I frown, I'm not a man." Luo Yan raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said, "Changping City will pay contribution points for you." Ma Shuo shook his head. "One thing is one thing. Besides, even if the underground city pays us contribution points, but what kind of place is that? It's a forbidden dangerous area. And it's night. Who would take risks for a contribution point? If it weren't for you, Xiaorang would not be able to receive medical treatment in time. The consequences, I really dare not think about it." Luo Yan glanced at him. "Since you are so afraid of losing her, treat her well." Ma Shuo chuckled. "Of course." Luo Yan looked at the operating room. "Since you are out of danger, I'll leave first." After going downstairs, Luo Yan walked through the lobby of the medical center and saw several men squatting or standing in the corner. They shook their heads and sighed. A tall, dark-skinned man wiped his tears and said, "Our captain died because of saving him. The captain is so stupid, he shouldn't care about that bastard Shen Guangli. He just took some money from Chen Hansheng to treat his family's illness. That's it. He doesn't need to risk his life." Another person said, "Stop talking, Leo Henry, Chen Guangli is here." Then a man with a pretty good appearance, but a cold expression came over a bunch of men. "Why are you crying? Anyone who goes to the battlefield should be prepared to die in battle. Why are you crying? Although Zhao Chang is dead, don't worry, I will lead you. The Corps has notified me, and now I'm the captain of our team. Here is the appointment letter, you can all take a look." The man took out his mobile phone and showed a letter of appointment. Chapter 762 changes. Appointment letter? Why? You are not even at the advanced level. Why can you be our captain? Isn't this fake? Voices rang out one after another. "Shut up." The man named Chen Guangli shouted. "You idiots. Do you really think I want to be your captain? If I hadn't come to participate in the operation commission, I would have wanted to change some team members. If you don't want to, then go home. But don't blame me for not warning you. Now I'm the captain. If you leave, it means you are disobeying my orders. For team members who disobey orders, the Corps has always had only one way to deal with them. That is to dismiss them and never recruit them again. If you want to leave, the gate is there. Go by yourself." Several team members looked at each other and were silent. They had various reasons not to want to leave, or they couldn't leave. They could only swallow their anger. Chen Guangli's voice was too loud, and except for Luo Yan, several people looked at him. Feeling the gazes in the lobby, Chen Guangli turned back and glared, and even made a gesture of wiping his throat at Luo Yan. He was extremely arrogant. Luo Yan narrowed his eyes slightly, changed his route, and walked over. Chen Guangli was not afraid when he saw someone coming. He raised his head and pointed his chin at Luo Yan. "What are you doing? Which team?" As soon as the voice fell, Luo Yan jumped up. He kicked Chen Guangli in the chest, kicking the newly appointed Yin Makor against the wall. Chen Guangli felt uncomfortable in his chest and coughed repeatedly. In Yinmedi City, the Chen family is a big family, and even the head of the corps has to give the Chen family some face. Chen Guangli had never been treated like this before, and he was so shocked and angry that he could hardly breathe. He pointed at Luo Yan, but he was able to suppress his anger and gritted his teeth and said, "You dare to hit someone in the base. Do you know that the first person to hit will be punished and his contribution points will be deducted?" "So what?" Luo Yan's eyes were cold. "I don't like being provoked the most. If I'm provoked, I can give up the contribution points, but I must hit the person. You should be glad that this is in the base. Otherwise, it would not be just a kick." After saying that, Luo Yan left. Chen Guangli spit it to the side. "You should also be glad that this is in the base. Otherwise, you would have died 800 times. I have grown up so big, and no one dared to do this to me. Okay, young master, I will play with you." He looked at several team members. "Go and check what the arrogant boy is called, which underground city he is from, and what his background is. Also, go tell the base management office and let them punish the boy severely." Although Chen Guangli was arrogant, he was not stupid. He knew that the Chen family could only walk sideways in the Yinmedi city. After leaving the dungeon, you still have to be careful. Seeing Luo Yan there to take action in the medical center, he thought that maybe he was the son of a big family in the dungeon. Therefore, he still had to find out the origin of the opponent. Think about it and see if he can afford to offend him. Guangling City Camp. In the barracks of the 3rd squad in the 4th team. No mission today. Bei was lying on his bed, browsing his phone. The new products of Rabbit Abbey have started pre-sale. Buy. The girl's eyes lit up, and she swept down all the new products on the shelves, her legs swinging happily. After buying, "I won't buy a hat this month." Looking at the dozen new rabbit hats in the shopping cart, Bei nodded with satisfaction. Then she heard footsteps, stretched her head on the bed, and looked at the entrance of the room. Seeing Luo Yan walk in, Bei quickly turned over and got out of bed. "Student Luo, you're back. Have you found Changping's team?" Luo Yan pulled down the zipper of his driving suit. "Found it. Miss Rang was injured and had surgery, but she's out of danger." Bei was shocked. "So serious?" Luo Yan nodded and picked up the kettle to replenish water. "What are you doing?" Bei picked up the phone and shook it and said, "Rabbit Abbey has new products recently, and the new products are now being pre-sold." Luo Yan put down the kettle. "Do you like it? I'll give it to you." Bei smiled with his eyes curved. "I've bought them all." Although she said that, the girl still felt sweet in her heart. She then blinked her eyes. "Student Luo, I think you have changed." Luo Yan was stunned. "Changed? No." Bei circled around him. "No, you have changed. You rarely smiled before. Even if you smiled, there was no smile in your eyes. Your nerves are always very tense, as if there is an invisible knife behind your back, and you don't want to waste a moment. You are always very heavy. Although you didn't say anything, I can feel it." She stopped, tiptoed, and moved closer to Luo Yan. "But you are not so cold and hard now. You have become much softer. You have begun to smile and warm in your eyes. You are no longer so heavy, no longer so sharp. Your heartbeat is still steady and powerful, but it no longer beats like a war drum, but becomes soothing, like the earth that breeds infinite vitality." Bei stretched out her little hand and gently pressed it on Luo Yan's chest, feeling the strong and powerful beating. She smiled and looked up. "I like you the way you are now." Luo Yan was stunned. He knew that, after expelling the red poison, he had indeed changed. But because Golden Chamber record is related to Black Witch, he did not reveal it to the people around him, so he also tried to conceal it, and not let himself be too smug. Unexpectedly, Bei could still feel it. At this time, Yan Wenbo walked in and said, I took a job, suddenly seeing Bei almost sticking to Luo Yan. Yan Wenbo turned around and said, I'll come back later. No. Luo Yan and Bei shouted at the same time. The latter's face was even hot. Luo Yan coughed dryly and said calmly, Captain, what task did you take again? Yan Wenbo laughed and said, it doesn't matter, I'll tell you in the evening, you guys are busy. Captain, don't go. Bei held Yan Wenbo, his face flushed like an apple. We want to know now, right, classmate Luo? Luo Yan nodded. Okay. Yan Wenbo scratched his head and said, then wait for Changxin to come back, I'll tell you all at once. Not long after, Dugu Changxin came back. When he walked into the barracks, he felt that the atmosphere was a bit strange. Bei sat on a chair. Her feet were off the ground, her legs were swinging, her face was looking out the window, her eyes were scattered, as if she was avoiding something. Yan Wenbo had an awkward expression, winking at him, as if he wanted to say something, but unfortunately Dugu Changxin didn't understand what he meant. Only Luo Yan was relatively normal, wiping and maintaining the dragon elephant, but he was obviously wiping in one place for too long, and seemed absent-minded. Did I miss something? Dugu Changxin raised his eyebrows slightly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 763 Dragon Flame Flower. The next day. The Forbidden Land of Gifa City. This is a park located in the city. The park covers a large area. There is a river surrounding the park. This artificial river separates the park from the urban area. There is a flat map hanging at the entrance of the park. From the map, there are grasslands, zoos, children's palaces, children's playgrounds and even a haunted house in the park. It is not difficult to see that before the natural disaster, this park must have been very lively on holidays. But now, the whole park is almost covered with Gifa. This pond-like black demon hair is entangled on the statues, flooding the grassland, swallowing the children's palace, and turning the whole park into a huge haunted house. In this haunted house, Luo Yan was driving the Bayan. They accepted a task to recover Jiuying. Someone found Jiuying in this park, but there was a mink snake entwined in the Jiuying. Mink snake is an upper-level giant beast. At that time in the Misty Canyon, Bei tore a mink snake alive with strange liberation. For many teams, the upper level beasts are still quite tricky, so after discovering that there were mink snakes entrenched, the team just took the news back and got some contribution points. They didn't dare to pay attention to Jiuying. But the third squad and the fourth team are different. In this team, Luo Yan and Bei have cooperated to kill the upper level mirage turtle. Yan Wenbo believes that a mink snake should not be difficult for them to deal with. Now, Luo Yan is driving the Matrix Transcendence mode, activating the invisibility characteristics of Teoti, and sneaking into the park to find out. The Bayan moves silently. In the Transcendence mode, the invisibility can correct the light and shadow changes near the mecha by refraction of light, so that the invisibility will no longer be exposed due to smoke or other factors. Captain, I'm approaching the target location. Luo Yan reported in the cab. Yan Wenbo's voice rang out in the communication channel. Very good. We are also ready. As long as we make sure there are no other giant beasts nearby, we will start working. Luo Yan responded, and suddenly, he stopped. He saw Jiuying. This Jiuying is not small, like a rockery, with a height of about 20 meters. The surface is uneven, and grey light shines from time to time inside, vaguely condensing into the figures of various ferocious beasts. Just near Jiuying, a red snake lay lazily on the ground, head and tail connected, encircling Jiuying. The scaly snake with 4 pairs of wings flapped its wings from time to time, and sparks fell from the tips of its feathers. Those sparks fell to the ground, and would bloom into small sparks one after another. Mink snake. Circles of silver light immediately appeared in Luo Yan's eyes, and the peeping silver eyes opened, and a complex vein immediately appeared on the mink snake's body. He began to analyze the silver veins on the surface of the mink snake. At the same time, he noticed that there were many red strange flowers growing where the mink snake was lying. The reason why these flowers are so strange is that when the sparks of the Ming snake fell, they did not burn, but absorbed the sparks, making the petals even more red. Dragon flame flower, a strange flower bred by the fire of the Ming snake. It can be used as medicine, and can also be used to extract fire element, to make various fire-based lethal weapons. Luo Yan's breathing sank slightly. He looked around, and saw that there were so many dragon flame flowers, where the Ming snake was entrenched. They covered the ground. When the wind blew, the petals swayed, just like a sea of fire. Luo Yan immediately reported this situation to Yan Wenbo. Dragon flame flower. Is it really a dragon flame flower? Yan Wenbo laughed. Then we are going to make a fortune. This thing is on the long-term recycling list of materials in the giant beast strategic palace. According to your description, that piece of dragon flame flower can be exchanged for at least 10,000 contribution points. Dugu Changson's voice sounded. In that case, we can't do it inside. We have to lure out the Ming snake. Yan Wenbo said, it is not suitable to do it inside. Although it doesn't matter, if Yaoyin is broken, it is better to take the whole thing back. Now that the dragon flame flower has been discovered, we can't act rashly. Zhao Luo, lure out the Ming snake. Okay. Since he had made a decision, Luo Yan explained the invisibility, and the figure of Ban appeared in the air. Luo Yan raised the Zuanwu shield, and knocked the shield with the rifle storm. Dang dang dang. The knocking sound attracted the attention of Ming snake. The giant beast that closed its eyes, and pretended to sleep opened its golden snake pupils. The pupils shrank and saw Ban. The Ming snake immediately roared, and its forewings stirred up a strong wind, fanning off sparks, and flew up. Flying well. Luo Yan immediately locked onto the Ming snake, raised the storm, and immediately sprayed flames from the muzzle. Bullets rained down on the Ming snake in midair. The Ming snake spread its wings, a circle of fire spread out, and the anti-membrane unfolded. Suddenly, the attack of the storm could not threaten it. However, Luo Yan originally did not intend to rely on the storm to kill the Ming snake. After attracting its attention, the Ban turned around and ran, turning back and firing while running. This undoubtedly angered the Ming snake, but it carefully scanned the surroundings in midair, and when it did not find other mechs, it flapped its forewings and chased after the Ban. Asterisk asterisk asterisk, where is the giant beast? Didn't I tell you to ambush here? Do you still want to do it? If not, get out of here. Chen Guangli was driving his mecha Xing Feng in a green mecha with black stripes, cursing as he walked. Today they took on a task to clean up the giant beasts, and targeted a zero. It turned out that they wanted to drive this giant beast with human arms in the shape of an elk into a trap, and then surround and kill it. Unexpectedly, the Zero's ability, such as controlling wood, entangled the ambushed mecha, and then used coercion to affect the driver's mind. In the end, it used the ability of staying in the air, to step into the air and leave, so that Shen Guangli's team from Yinmudi City worked in vain. The team members were also very angry. Chen Guangli only commanded from the side, and did not participate in driving away the giant beasts, or ambushing and setting traps. Now he turned around and scolded everyone, and no one would accept it. But due to his identity, these people dared to be angry, but did not speak. After Chen Guangli let out a breath, he shouted, "Did you find out anything about the person I asked you to investigate yesterday?" Someone answered, "We found out. He's from Guangling. It seems his surname is Luo, but I'm not sure what his name is. Oh, by the way, he's a student, and he's here to participate in this combat commission as a reserve." Chen Guangli narrowed his eyes. "Student? Surname Luo." The old man said that the people we need to pay attention to in Guangling are those with the surnames D, Luo, and Huang, but not Luo. There's no big family with the surname Luo in Guangling. Well, a poor guy dares to bully me. You'd better not let me catch you, or I'll make you pay. At this time, there was a sudden explosion in front of him, and flames rose. Chen Guangli looked over, and outside the panoramic window, he could vaguely see an abandoned park in the distance. Chapter 764 Shameless. Fierce flames bloomed outside the panoramic window, and the red fires were running around like pythons, burning everything wherever they passed. Fortunately, the red fires, that were like snakes, were blocked by the layers of energy barriers stimulated by the Zuanwu. Even so, Luo Yan, who was in the cab, still felt the burning heat. In any case, he successfully attracted the Ming snake out, and now they are fighting in the area of the children's palace. Xiao Bei, get it? Yan Wenbo's voice came from the communication channel. The Ming snake flying in the sky suddenly grew large and small bone hands from its wings. Those bone hands grabbed the Ming snake's feathers and strangled its forewings, causing the Ming snake to suddenly lose control and fall heavily into the children's palace, crushing and destroying a number of buildings. Changxin, let's go. Xiao Bei, keep an eye on the outer circle. Don't let this guy run away. The voice in the communication channel just sounded, and a huge figure in the distance had already rushed over. It was Du Gu Changxin's flying lightning. The appearance of Fei Dian, who looked like an ancient general, suddenly jumped up. The ground sank, and the soil and rocks collapsed. Fei Dian flew through the air and fell towards Ming Snake. He turned the tip of the tiger-headed spear in his hand, gathered all his energy, and stabbed it fiercely. Unexpectedly, when the spear tip stabbed Ming Snake, it made a squeak sound, and a string of sparks slid across Ming Snake's body. The tiger-headed spear stabbed the ground heavily, exploding a circle of smoke and dust. Ming Snake hissed, swung its long tail, and swept it violently, lashing at Fei Dian's back. Just as it was about to hit the mecha, a figure suddenly came in. Bian. Luo Yan controlled the mecha, raised the big shield, and superimposed energy barriers in front of it. Ming Snake's tail lashed out, bang bang bang, and the barriers were shattered one by one. Until the end, only 4 or 5 barriers were left, but they successfully blocked Ming Snake's tail attack. In the other direction, the embroidered tiger rushed over like a steel tiger and grabbed Ming Snake's head with one claw. Ming Snake closed his eyes in time, and the embroidered tiger's steel claws only scratched a few sparks on the giant snake's head, but it was harmless. The giant snake shook its head violently and hit the embroidered tiger. The mecha jumped into the air. Ming Snake immediately opened his eyes and raised his head, and a stream of red flame spurted out of his mouth. The red fire whistled away and was about to hit the embroidered tiger. At this time, Yan Wenbo used the suspended air feature. It seemed that there were invisible steps under the mecha's feet. The embroidered tiger continued to step on the air and avoided Ming Snake's red fire. Then it spun wildly down, and its sharp claws danced in circles of golden and red in the air. The colorful light turned thousands of times, rolling all the way from the scale snake's head to its body, scraping the scales, and splashing the snake's blood. Ming Snake felt pain, and its forewings suddenly straightened up, breaking the bone hands apart. Then, the burning winds rose up and turned into tornadoes of flames, crashing into the embroidered tiger and other mechas, forcing several mechas to dodge or defend for a while. Ming Snake took the opportunity to soar into the sky. At this time, the bone hands on its wings grew wildly, and the bones were connected to the branches, just like the grass growing in spring. In a blink of an eye, the branches of the bones intertwined with each other in the air, and the thorns danced wildly, turning into a grey-white cage, controlling Ming Snake. Weird, bone cage. As his cultivation progressed, Bei's control over Weird became higher and higher. As a result, the abilities that Weird could exert became more and stronger. Just like now. Blocked by this bone cage, Ming Snake flew out immediately and let out a hissing. This hissing formed a wave visible to the naked eye, spreading out, shaking the bone cage to the point of breaking apart. Ming Snake, it's hissing. How could it be taken lightly? After 2 seconds, the bone cage broke apart with a clatter, and bones fell down one by one. From a distance, it looked like a grey-white waterfall. Just as the bone waterfall flowed, the space above Yuming suddenly dimmed, and 2 huge black-blue arms stretched out from the air. Blue Zero. This Weird with only 2 hands exposed clenched its fists as soon as it appeared, and blue flames suddenly shot out from the front of its fists. A punch hit Ming's head hard, creating a circle of blue ripples. Ming screamed, fell from mid-air, and hit the ground. The ground was undulating, and cracks spread wildly, interweaving a complex pattern. At this time, B took the opportunity to approach, and the dragon elephant flew in the air, and its body suddenly burst out with a terrifying murderous intent. Mingsh was stimulated, and red fire and burning wind broke out together, but B seemed to have predicted this result in advance, and stepped in a direction with its big feet, avoiding all attacks. Blind spot. At the same time, the distance between the mecha and the Ming snake was shortened to only 3 steps. The dragon elephant slashed down. Blood plasma rushed up into the sky, as if to dye the sky red, and the strong red became the focus here. Then a snake head flew out, and fell into a dried up artificial lake. The eyeballs on the snake head were still moving. After a while, the brilliance in the eyes gradually disappeared. Secret skill, 1 kill every 10 steps. The Ming snake's body was still twitching in the pool of blood. The embroidered tiger came to the side of the Bayan. Yan Wenbo took a look at this mecha with boiling murderous intent and was inspired. Zio, if you join the corps after graduation, you will definitely be a captain. He continued, Changxin, you recover the Ming snake core. Zio Bei, Zio, let's go and see the Sea of Flowers. The 8 gates approached, and the 3 mechas went to the Sea of Flowers. Yan Wenbo laughed dryly in the cab and said, after we turn this Sea of Flowers into cash, you, Zio, will take 40%, and the rest will be divided among the 3 of us. What do you think? Luo Yan nodded. I'll listen to you, Captain. Yan Wenbo laughed. Add that piece of yaoin, and we'll have a great harvest today. In a moment, they had arrived at the field full of dragon flame flowers, but they saw that there were several more mechas here. Among them, a mecha with a turquoise background and black patterns was touching the yaoin that looked like a small hill. When Luo Yan saw it, he squinted his eyes. At this time, the green mech turned on the sound peripheral. We are the mech team of Yunmadi City. Brothers, I'm sorry. We discovered this place first. You should know the rules. In the forbidden area, whoever discovers the treasure first will own it. Therefore, this piece of yaoin and these dragon flame flowers are ours. Tell me your names. When you go back, I will give each of you 1,000 general work points. You can use them to have a drink. You're welcome. The driver in the mech opposite said generously, but Luo Yan's face turned gloomy. There was originally a step here. If they hadn't led away the Ming snake and destroyed it, would these mechas have been able to come nearby and step into the Sea of Flowers? Now they are so shameless, talking about the rules, and taking over the fruits of their hard work with just a few words. Chapter 765, Robbery. While Luo Yan was feeling unhappy, he also recognized the other person's voice. It was Chen Guangli, who had a conflict with him in the medical center yesterday. After that, he went back to the camp to inquire and learned that the Chen family of Yunma City was a big family, so Chen Guangli was probably from the Chen family. Although, the underground cities participating in the combat commission have a representative in the base to handle various trivial matters. For example, when Ma Shuo and several people in Changping City lost contact, it was the representative of the city who operated and then issued a search and rescue mission. The representative of Yunma City also had the surname Chen and was famous. Chen Wan was a member of the Yunma Chen family. He was in his prime and held a high position. He was a core figure in the Chen family. Luo Yan originally thought that Chen Guangli would come to trouble him, but he only waited for a notice from the base. The base made a ruling on the conflict at the medical center. Luo Yan hit someone, but considering that he was the first offender and Chen Guangli was not injured, only 200 contribution points were deducted. The notice also mentioned that, if Luo Yan was dissatisfied with the ruling, he could appeal through the court to which the underground city belonged. Of course, it was only 200 contribution points. Luo Yan was too lazy to bother. He thought that after this incident, he would have nothing to do with Chen Guangli, but he bumped into him again today. Chen Guangli was so shameless, and took the results by force. Although Luo Yan was unhappy, he remained silent, because he was not the captain. Yan Wenbo, as the captain, had no choice, but to take responsibility. At that moment, Xiu who stepped forward, and his laughter rang out in the sound peripheral. This brother from Yunma may not know that we arrived earlier than you. We are from the Guanglin Corps, Squad 3, Team 4. Today we have received a mission to reclaim the yaoin here. Originally there was a Ming snake lurking here. We tried to lure the Ming snake out and kill it somewhere else for fear of damaging the Sea of Flowers. So, to avoid hurting the harmony, please leave. In the green mecha, Chen Guangli's eyes turned and he said, brother from Guangling, you said we arrived early, so we arrived early? Then I said we saw this Sea of Flowers yesterday. Besides, you also said that the Ming snake was killed somewhere else. So how do you prove that the big snake was originally lurking here? But you are right about one thing. When you are away from home, harmony brings wealth. I, the Chen family from Yanma, don't want to use the power of my family to suppress you. How about this? Let's each take a step back. Please leave. Afterwards I will give each of the brothers from Guangling 10,000 work points. Is that okay? In the drinking horse team, a dark-skinned man cursed in a low voice, shameless. The other people's faces were also burning. They could hear that Shin Guangli said that he would not use the family's power to pressure others, but the fact was just the opposite. The Chens showed their backs, obviously wanting the Guangling team to retreat. Moreover, what the other party said was not groundless. The reason why they came here was that they heard the explosion and saw the fire before and were attracted by it. Obviously, Guangling had just finished a battle. Their team wanted to seize the other side's battle results by trickery, which made people feel embarrassed. If it weren't for the mecha blocking them, they would have wanted to find a crack to get in, so as not to be embarrassed with Chen Guangli. If they had to let it go, Chen Guangli would not have insisted so much. But now he looked at the dragon flame flowers all over the ground and the dark land, and his eyes were full of jealousy. He was born in the Chen family and enjoyed the dignity brought by the family's status, but he also had to bear the obligations of the children of a large family. This sea of flowers in the deep sea are enough for Chen to gain a considerable amount of contribution points from the giant beast strategic palace. It is also enough for him to make a significant mark in the family's internal evaluation. So he refused to give up, even if he knew he was in the wrong. He still wanted to swallow this sea of flowers in the deep sea. On the other side, Yan Wenbo frowned. From Chen Guangli's tone, he knew that this matter today could not be resolved peacefully. He immediately used the team channel to let Luo Yan keep an eye on the opponent, and he raised his voice. In this case, I will apply for the base notarization. The base will have records of all tasks. We also have the same records when we receive tasks. Call up the task record, and you will know that what we said is true. In the green mecha, Chen Guangli said, let's discuss it, and then opened the communication channel, and said eerily in the team channel. It seems that there is no way to scare them away. The only way now is to take action. You guys hold on to those two mechs, and I will take Yain away. As long as we return to the base, it is up to us to decide where to get Yain. If they dare to chase us, we can still blame them. After we're done, how about we split the spoils of Yain 50-50? There was a silence in the communication channel, and it was obvious that the other team members were ashamed. Chen Guangli sneered. Oh, you are so noble. Stop pretending to be stupid. How dare you say that you have never enriched yourself when you were on a mission? You are all bitches. Why are you pretending to be a saint? Think about it carefully. How many contribution points can you get if you take back this piece of Yain? Isn't this better than fighting for your life? You may not be able to get so many contribution points even if you fight to the death. How about this? I'll take a step back. I'll take 30% and you guys divide the rest, and I'll take responsibility for any problems. Is that okay? At this time, a voice in the communication channel said, I'll do it. I have parents to support at home, and my child is not in good health, and I need money for everything. I don't want contribution points, I want money. Chen Guangli knew that he should not be stingy at this time, so he said readily, okay, I will exchange your contribution points for general work points then. With someone taking the lead, the rest will be easy. Although the others were a little hesitant, they agreed one after another. Chen Guangli said, listen to my orders later. Also, when you move, destroy this sea of flowers. What I can't get, I won't give to these poor people in Guangling. At this time, Yan Wenbo asked, how did you guys discuss it? Chen Guangli said, we've discussed it. We must have misunderstood you. We'll leave now. Excuse me. The green mecha turned around, and Chen Guangli shouted in the communication channel, do it. The next second, the other mechas immediately raised their rifles, and flames spurted out of the muzzles, sweeping out a volley of bullets. The bullets plowed through the sea of flowers, smashing the petals of the valuable dragon flame flowers into pieces, and floating all over the sky. The bullets even swept towards Bayan and Xiuhu, trying to suppress these two mechas. At the same time, Chen Guangli's green mecha turned around, hugged Jiuying, which was like a rockery, with both hands, and wanted to uproot it and bring it back to the base. This time, even Yan Wenbo's eyes were about to burst into flames. He didn't expect that Chen Guangli was not only shameless, but also despicable and bad, and he went from taking by trickery to robbing by force. Chapter 766 Detention. Almost as soon as Chen Guangli started, the bind soared into the sky, and the thrusters behind the mecha spewed out blue flames, forming a huge driving force, allowing Luo Yan to get rid of the entanglement of other mechas of the Yinma team in an instant. He believed that with Yan Wenbo's ability, these mechas would not embarrass the captain. Sure enough, as soon as the bind moved, the Xiu who also jumped up, and then used the hanging characteristics of the supercore matrix to constantly change its position in midair, making it difficult for the mechas of the Yinma side to pose a threat. In midair, the bind drew out the Han-sword dragon elephant, and locked the green mecha below. At this time, Yan Wenbo's voice sounded in the communication channel. Zio Luo, I want it alive. It's valuable to be alive. From midair, this flower sea has been destroyed by the Yinma team for the most part. Even if all the remaining dragon flame flowers are recovered, the income will drop sharply. So, someone has to buy this account. Chen Guangli, who came from the Yinma family, is a suitable person. Chen Guangli had already pulled Jiuying up from the ground, and was about to leave when the sky above him went dark. The bind fell from the sky and the dragon elephant chopped down, causing the left hand of the mecha to fall to the ground. Under the effect of the empathy system, Chen Guangli felt the pain himself. Even though the pain had been reduced, it still made him cry and snot. My hand. My hand. He had only driven the mecha in combat a limited number of times, and because of Zhao Chang's protection, he was rarely injured. Even if he was injured, it was only a minor injury. There was no such thing as a tragic broken arm. So at this moment, he excitedly covered his left arm, as if it was really broken. The bind fell to the ground, and the 8 small words on the Han sword, the posture of a dragon and an elephant, frightened by fish and birds, lit up. Suddenly, Chen Guangli and the other mechas in the team felt an inexplicable pressure, as if they were suppressed by the power of the 10 elephants and 10 dragons, and their movements became inflexible. The embroidered tiger showed its yuanli. Yan Wenbo was at a high level, so even though he was also affected by the dragon elephant, he was much more relaxed than other mechas. The mecha moved around the Yinma squad, and its sharp claws pulled out brilliant lines, tearing the rifles of those mechas into pieces. On the other side, since the green mecha only had one arm left, it could no longer catch Jiuying, and Jiuying fell to the ground with a bang. At the same time, the long sword of the bind was decisive, and the 2 legs of the mecha were also removed. In the cab, Chen Guangli screamed again. At this time, he didn't know whether to cover his arms or his legs. After the bind removed the opponent's legs, he grabbed the only remaining arm of the green mecha, threw it hard, and threw the green mecha out of the sea of fire. Chen Guangli's mecha fell to the ground and kept rolling, and he was dizzy in the cab. Just as he came to his senses, he saw Bian falling from the sky outside the panoramic window. It landed next to Chen Guangli. There was no dragon flame flower here, so Luo Yan was no longer polite. He controlled Bian to pick up Chen Guangli's mecha, and then smashed it left and right, causing the outer armor of the body to crack, and parts to fall out. In the end, Chen Guangli fainted in the cab. Asterisk 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 in the afternoon. The personnel from the various underground camps in the base all ran outside the camps, as if to watch something exciting. Song Bao from Pingayao Underground City had just returned from a mission. He emerged from the mecha, unzipped his driving suit, put his head under the faucet, and rinsed it with cold water, and then exhaled hot air. He wiped his face, and saw that everyone was running out of the camp. He couldn't help but catch one person and ask, "What happened?" "It's from Guangling. They brought back a team of mechas." "I don't know what happened." When Song Bao heard that they were from Guangling, he followed them to the outside of the camp. Sure enough, he saw several mechas carrying a green mecha with only one arm left on their backs. Next to these mechas, there were 4 mechas escorting. Among them, Song Bao recognized Luo Yan's Bian. That seems to be the team from Yinma City. What happened to them? Why were they brought back like prisoners? The people around talked a lot, but no one knew what happened. In the end, the mechs from Yinmedi City were taken into the Guangling camp and were obviously detained. In the representative room of Yinmedi City, at the surface base, Chen Wang, who was over 40 years old, received a notice that a team of mechs on his side had been detained by Guangling. Moreover, his nephew Chen Guangli was also among the detained mecha divisions. Chen Wang was shocked and quickly called and found several representatives from the opposite underground city and rushed to the Guangling camp. In the camp of Guangling underground city, Chen Guangli was carried out of the cab. "Put me down, I can walk by myself." He had recovered, and when he saw that there were people all around him, pointing at him, he suddenly became angry. Then, he saw a figure walking out of the mecha that beat him up. The other party took off his helmet on the mecha, and immediately, a familiar face appeared in Chen Guangli's eyes. Black hair, red eyes, and cold facial lines. Who else could it be but Luo Yan? "It's you." Chen Guangli immediately recognized Luo Yan, and thought that he was beaten twice by the same person. He was so angry that he was fuming. "I'm going to kill you, you bastard." He rushed towards Bayan, but was held back. In the end, he and other mecha divisions from Yinma were temporarily thrown into a barracks. As soon as Luo Yan and his friends returned to the barracks, someone came to find them. It turned out that the people from Yinmedi City had come. "You came fast enough." Yan Wenbo laughed dryly, stood up and said, "I'll go talk to them. You guys rest in the barracks." Luo Yan was afraid that something would happen to him, so he stood up and said, "I'll go with you." Yan Wenbo did not stop him, and the two of them came to the camp office. As soon as he entered the door, he saw a middle-aged man who said aggressively, "Okay, this time the operation commission will be led by Guangling and King Jiuying. Guangling City is really proud this time. The mecha teams of other cities can be detained at will. Who gave you this right?" On the other side, the camp supervisor, an officer from the Guangling Mecha Corps, said calmly, "Representative Chen Wang, you don't have to worry. When the people from the 4th team arrive, we will naturally give you an explanation." Yan Wenbo coughed dryly. The officer looked over and said, "Speak of the devil, and the devil will appear." "Wenbo, why did you detain someone else's team?" Chen Wang then looked at the real owner, Yan Wenbo and Luo Yan. "So it was you who did it. I don't care what your purpose is. Release the people now, and we'll talk about other things later." Yan Wenbo laughed and said, "Representative Chen Wang, right? So, someone broke into Representative Chen Wang's house and burned, killed, and looted. Afterwards, Representative Chen Wang not only politely sent the criminals away, but also didn't bother to argue with them? Then Representative Chen Wang is really well-mannered. This is something that a rough man like me can never learn." Chapter 767 Ransom. Yan Wenbo's words made Chen Wang and other representatives from the underground city, who came with him roughly understand that Chen Guangli and others were escorted back because they robbed something from the Guangling team. So, a representative from the underground city stood up and said, "Captain, what exactly happened?" Yan Wenbo told him everything that happened in the forbidden area. After listening, Chen Wang laughed. "Impossible. Although our Chen family is not the richest in the underground city, we are not going to fight for a sea of flowers and a piece of secluded land." Yan Wenbo did not talk to him. He took out his mobile phone, called up a video, and handed it to the camp director. After the camp director took it, he directly projected the video onto the big screen in the office. Suddenly, the picture appeared on the big screen. "Brother Guangling, you said you arrived early, so you arrived early? Then I said we saw this sea of flowers yesterday. Besides, you also said that the mink snake was killed somewhere else. So how do you prove that the big snake was originally entrenched here? But you are right about one thing. When you are away from home, harmony brings wealth. I'm the Chen family of Yinma, and I don't want to use my family power to suppress you. How about this? Let's each take a step back. Please leave, and I will give each of the brothers in Guangling 10,000 work points afterwards. Is that okay?" Chen Guangli's voice appeared on the screen. Not only that, the video also showed the whole process of the conflict between the two sides. Seeing this scene, Chen Wang was stunned, and his old face flushed. He felt his face burning, and Chen Guangli's words made him feel ashamed. Behind him, the representatives of the underground cities said awkwardly, Old Chen, since you Yinma were in the wrong first. Then from this point of view, Guangling's escorting your people back is still a consideration for your face. Indeed. Guangling brought the people back instead of handing them over directly to the base. In this way, at least the matter could be resolved privately. Otherwise, if it was handed over to the base, everyone would know about it. At that time, not only would the Chen family be embarrassed, but even the Yinma core would be criticized. Chen Wang coughed dryly. This matter was indeed handled improperly by Guangli. Fortunately, it did not lead to any bad consequences. I wonder how Captain Yan thinks this matter should be handled properly? Yan Wenbo said with a smile. Representative Chen Wang, how about this? You destroyed a sea of dragon flame flowers that should have belonged to us. This sea of flowers can at least be exchanged for tens of thousands of contribution points. Then, if you fill in this number, it can be regarded as making up for our losses. What do you think? Chen Wang glanced at the screen and his temples jumped. From the video, although the Yinma team destroyed the sea of flowers, half of the sea of flowers was still left. In other words, even if compensation is required, 5,000 contribution points will be enough. Now Yan Wenbo wants 10,000, which is a bit too much. But Yinma was in the wrong first, so Chen Wang thought again and again and said, no problem. We will transfer 10,000 contribution points to you later through the internal system. Then can we release the people now? Wait. Yan Wenbo pointed to the big screen. Representative Chen Wang also saw what happened in the forbidden area. We have already said that we will let the base notarize it, but the Yinma team still took action, forcing us to fight. Then in the battle, our mecha was damaged and needed repairs. It should be reasonable for Yinma to pay for this money? Chen Wang's eyes flashed with anger. Captain Yan, isn't this a bit too much? Yan Wenbo shrugged his shoulders, turned around and put his arm around Luo Yan's shoulders. Forget it then. I don't want the 10,000 contribution points either. Let the base decide this matter. Really, we are the victims, and now we are being branded as taking an inch too much. Let's go, Zio Luo. Please wait. Chen Wang sighed. I spoke out of turn. I apologize. Captain Yan is right. Yinma should pay for the repair costs. Then I don't know how much is appropriate for this repair fee. Yan Wenbo turned around and raised two fingers. 20 million underground city work points is about right. This time Chen Wang did not hesitate. Okay, 20 million. Add 10,000 contribution points. Let's write off the matter. Yan Wenbo nodded. Once the money and contribution points have been received, the people and mechs will be sent back to you. So the matter was settled. When walking back to the camp, Yan Wenbo patted his chest and said, 20 million work points, Zio Luo. Do you think I'm asking for too much? Luo Yan looked at him and shook his head. If it were me, I'd ask for at least 50 million. If we hurt them, we'll have a lot less trouble. And if there are similar incidents in the future, you can compensate according to this figure. You only want 20 million now. It will be difficult to raise the price in the future. Captain, why do you look at me like that? Yan Wenbo sighed. What can I say? I can only say that your knife is indeed sharper than mine. Back in the barracks, Yan Wenbo clapped his hands. Come here. Dugu Changson and Bei came over after hearing the words. It's a deal. Yan Wenbo coughed dryly and said, as for Yinma, they will compensate us with 10,000 contribution points and 20 million general work points. When the accounts are settled, we will divide it equally among the four of us. 2,500 contribution points and 500 general work points each. Bei cheered. Great. In this way, I don't have to chop off my hands. Yan Wenbo was confused. Chop off my hands? What do you mean chop off my hands? Luo Yan frowned and said, Captain, I have no objection to dividing the contribution points equally, but as for the work points, you will be the only one to deal with it. If the Chen family wants to retaliate, they will only look for you. Risks and benefits are linked. You should get the work points alone. Yan Wenbo laughed. I'm barefoot and I'm afraid of those who wear shoes. If the Chen family wants to retaliate, Yan will take over. Besides, you know I'm the captain. Whether it is the captain or the head of the group, if you can't protect your subordinates and seek benefits for them, what kind of leader are you? Or are you afraid of being implicated and want to distance yourself from me? Luo Yang knew that his last sentence was a joke. but he said seriously, I'm not afraid. On the contrary, I'm looking forward to it. Yan Wenbo glared at him and said, don't be too arrogant. A family that can dominate the underground city will definitely not have only a loser like Qin Guangli. Luo Yan nodded. The captain is right. I will be careful. If I show too much confidence, it will make the other party afraid to act rashly. I want to beat you up, is that what I mean? Yan Wenbo's temples twitched. Bai said, that's right. It's better to have less trouble than more. Is it worth looking forward to being retaliated against? Luo Yan said seriously, that way we can earn more ransom. Chapter 768 Good things don't happen often. Shut up. Your idea is very dangerous. We are co-pilots, not bandits. Don't kidnap people all the time. Yan Wenbo stroked his forehead and said, I don't do things like today very often. If someone is in our hands, we can't let them go. But you can't bait them with enthusiasm and grab them all. In short, the Chen family didn't come to provoke us, so don't deliberately mess with them. Seeing Yan Wenbo say this, Luo Yan had to nod and agree, but he still felt a little regretful. After all, a fat sheep like Qin Guangli is not common. Yan Wenbo pulled a chair and sat down. I calculated that the compensation from Yinma City, plus the gains from this mission, the contribution points I will get as a reward will not be small. In this way, we have contribution points and money. Do you want to quit? It's also a good choice to quit while you're ahead. Although I've made a lot of money in the past few days, this is risking my life. If you want to quit, I'll apply to the higher ups after I get the contribution points and money. Luo Yan calculated that he was still far from exchanging for the heavenly fire record, but he couldn't drag other people to take risks with him, so he said, I'll listen to you. However, if the situation allows, I'd like to save more contribution points. Yan Wenbo glanced at him and said, you kid, you're not going to get the Tangsuan realm technique or something like that, are you? Because Luo Yan's contribution points are actually not few, but he still wants to stay. There is only one reason. The things he wants to exchange are not cheap. Luo Yan nodded and said frankly, I want to exchange for the record of Skyfire. Sure enough. Yan Wenbo laughed and said, you are much more ambitious than me. I never thought about going any further. I just want to eat and wait for death. Bai smiled and said, there is nothing wrong with eating and waiting for death. Everyone can live the way they want. The captain is enjoying life. Yan Wenbo pointed at Bai and said, Xiao Bai understands me. Dugu Changxin also said, I want to change to a unique skill, a better one, using a gun, at least 10,000 contribution points. Yan Wenbo thought for a while and said, okay, it seems that everyone is not willing to leave now, then let's stay for a while. I also want to continue to make some contribution points. No one will think that pensions are too much. And it's a good thing that you can make thousands or even tens of thousands of contribution points by going on a mission like this. There may not be so many in the future. Beiki said, don't you say that combat commissions will be issued frequently in the future? Luo Yan said softly, it is because they are issued frequently that it will not be so easy to earn in the future. Yan Wenbo nodded and said, Xiao Luo is right. In the first 2 times, in order to attract everyone to participate and increase enthusiasm, the thresholds for obtaining contribution points and exchanging high quality skills and items will be relatively relaxed. But, skills and secrets are not so bad. After all, once discovered, they can be used infinitely. But for things like cultivation potions, the raw materials are not in constant supply. Therefore, once the combat commission becomes the norm, either increase the difficulty of obtaining contribution points, or increase the threshold for consumables. So, future combat commissions will not be as easy to get as they are now. Dugu Changxin said, then I must make good use of this opportunity and strive to exchange for a unique skill or a secret method. Yan Wenbo glanced at him. If you want to continue on the path of a mecha master in the future, you really have to seize this opportunity. Okay, then we'll stay and earn more contribution points. Yunma City Representative Office. Chen Guangli walked in with a rage, and after closing the door, he said loudly, Uncle San, those people in Guangling are too much of a bully. That Luo guy, he beat me up twice yesterday and today. Twice. You have to find a way to deal with them. Just as he finished speaking, snap, a crisp slap sounded in the office. Chen Wang slapped his nephew, causing him to turn over twice and fall to the ground. Chen Guangli's face was swollen, and the corners of his mouth were full of blood. He looked at Chen Wang in astonishment. "You good for nothing." Chen Wang pointed at him and said, "The old man was middle-aged when he gave birth to a son like you. He treats you like a treasure. I can understand that. Everyone in our Chen family also dotes on you. After all, you are the eldest son and grandson, and you will inherit our Chen family's incense in the future. But look at you. Do you look like you are capable of shouldering the responsibility?" Chen Wang grabbed him up and said, "The boss put you in the Corps, but I was actually against it. He is confused by the authorities, but I know that your temper is not good. The Corps is not a group of people with the surname Chen, but a collective. This collective, let alone our Chen family, even the Wu family and the Ning family can't infiltrate or influence it. It's not easy to put you in the Corps. You have always been wild. How can you be willing to be disciplined? But the boss said that because of this, you have to be put in and temper you well. Okay, since he said so, I agree. As a result, you and Zhao Chang have constant conflicts, and I almost used up my old face just to clean up your ass. Zhao Chang died, and you came to me and told me that you wanted to be the captain. I thought so. If you become the captain, you might realize the importance of responsibility. So I got you a letter of appointment. Well, you have only been the captain for a few days, and you have brought shame to the Chen family and the Corps." After saying that, Chen Wang slapped Chen Guangli's hand on the table, then pulled out a short blade with a cold glow, pressed it on Chen Guangli's little finger, and cut it off fiercely. "Ah!" Chen Guangli screamed, covering his severed finger, and stepped back repeatedly. "Uncle San, are you crazy? How can I explain to my dad if you cripple me? Isn't it just 20 million in compensation? It's not that I can't afford it. I'll pay with my own money. Why did you cut off my finger?" Chen Wang said with a gloomy face. "Cut off the finger as a sign. I hope that, when you see your broken finger in the future, you will remember today's lesson. Is today's matter about paying 20 million? You slap the Corps in the face. If I don't cut off my finger as a warning, how can I explain to the Corps?" Chen Guangli gasped. "In the final analysis, isn't it all about face? Uncle San, my dad told me. He said that our Chen family is big and powerful. We can't let people bully us or look down on us outside. Money can be lost, people can die, but face must be saved. Today, the Chen family has lost a lot of face. Don't you want to earn it back? Are you going to let the guys who made us lose so much face continue to live freely outside? Uncle San, think about it carefully. As long as those guys don't disappear, our Chen family will be laughed at. They say our Chen family can't even take care of a few poor families, and we still have to give them money." Chapter 769 Emergency Notice. The atmosphere in the office suddenly became solemn. Chen Wang glanced at his nephew, his eyes as sharp as an eagle, piercing into Chen Guangli's eyes. Chen Guangli didn't feel guilty, and just stared at his uncle. After a moment, Chen Wang said, "You want to take revenge on those mecha masters?" Chen Guangli raised a finger, to be precise, revenge on one of them. The captain and regular members of that team must not be touched. If we touch Guangling, he will fight us to the death. The other two reserve members are students. The woman was not involved in today's incident. There is no grudge between today and yesterday. I, Chen Guangli, will not attack a girl. So, the one I want to touch is the one with the surname Luo. Yesterday, this kid kicked me, and today he cut my mecha into pieces. It can be said that, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have been defeated today. In addition, I have inquired, and there is no noteworthy big family with the surname Luo in Guangling. Therefore, this Luo is just a pauper. If we touch him, or even make him disappear, Guangling will not fight with us. And we have also served as a warning to a certain extent. Chen Wang sneered. Since he can dismantle your mecha, it means he is very skilled. Can you catch him? Chen Guangli laughed. Uncle San, stop joking. Does our Chen family still need to fight to the death with others? As long as you are willing to pay, or even take out one or two unique skills, there are many people who are willing to be our knives. On the surface, I must get rid of this matter cleanly. In this way, even if people suspect me afterwards, what can they do to me without evidence? Chen Wang asked again. Then what do you plan to do? Chen Guangli said, I will contact Yanma immediately, use their channels, and offer a high price to find a few high level realms. It's just a student, at most 4 high level realms, we should be able to do this beautifully. Chen Wang reminded, don't be careless, it's best to investigate the student's back first and find out his background, so as not to capsize in the ditch. Don't do it here, it's too easy to find out if you do it here. In addition, you made a big mistake this time. In addition to cutting off one of your fingers, I will also take the initiative to apply to the corps, to remove you from the position of captain, and expel you from the corps. Do you understand? Chen Guangli licked his lips. I understand. If I leave the corps, I won't cause any trouble if something goes wrong. Uncle San, you are still so cautious. No wonder Grandpa thinks highly of you. Chen Wang snorted. Shut up. He continued, Guangli, you are actually quite capable, but you are too impulsive. Let's just take this as a lesson. Go to the medical center right away. This severed finger should be able to be reattached. Chen Guangli nodded, took the severed finger, and walked out of the office. As soon as he left, Chen Guangli's expression immediately became ferocious. Uncle San, I will repay you for your kindness in the severed finger. It was a little after 5 in the morning, and the sky was just getting light. In the forbidden area, right where Luo Yan and his men had killed the mink snake during the day, a huge meatball appeared on the scene. This meatball was extending its tentacles, pulling the mink snake's body over, and then devouring the snake's body. TSUI. Compared to earlier, TSUI's body size has increased several times, and now it looks like a behemoth. The thickness of the placenta has reached an outrageous level. After swallowing the mink snake, the placenta on its surface grew again, and a layer of scales covered the surface. Those were mink snake scales, and in this way, TSUI's defense power was raised to another level. TSUI, who had eaten himself into a meatball, also vomited out the bones of mink snake, and soon piled them into a small hill. At this time, the strange hair nearby began to wriggle strangely, and weaved into a human figure. Bearded ghost. This bearded ghost was as small as dust in front of TSUI, but TSUI seemed to sense it. The meatball turned in a direction, and faced the bearded ghost. An old woman with deep wrinkles and a sad face appeared. The little bearded ghost, with pale light floating in its eyes, turned around and raised his hand, to point to a certain point in the dark night. Oh. Heh. The next moment, the strange hair in the entire forbidden area began to wriggle, all intertwined into bearded ghosts of all sizes. Regardless of size, these bearded ghosts all made the same move. That is, they raised their hands, and pointed in a certain direction in the darkness. The same direction. At this time, if you mark the directions pointed by the bearded ghosts with arrows, you will find that these arrows will intersect at a point, as if they extend infinitely forward. That point is the surface base. The old woman's face on the surface of TSUI's placenta. Her eyes slowly opened, but there was no light in her eyes, only 2 dark holes. From those 2 holes, countless tentacles stretched out, dancing wildly, as if TSUI was expressing an idea of his in this way. Asterisk 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 after breakfast, Luo Yan's cell phone rang, and he received several messages in a row. Contribution points were credited to his account, and work points for the dungeon were also credited to his account. Yan Wenbo also came over. We've talked about money, right? The 10,000 contribution points and 20 million compensation from Yanma City have arrived. In addition, yesterday's recovery mission. Basic reward 1000 contribution points. Recovering Jiuying 10,000 contribution points. Killing a high-level behemoth 2,000 contribution points. A total of 130,000 contribution points, all have been distributed. I have already allocated and sent them to you. The basic reward and recycling Jiuying will be divided equally. As for killing mink snake, Xiao Luo and Xiao Bei contributed more, so you two will each take 700, and Changxin and I will each take 300 points. As for the dragon flame flower, our city is willing to purchase it, and we will split the money after selling it. Luo Yan nodded. In this way, yesterday's contribution points alone were 5,950 points. plus the previous 2,125 points, and the search and rescue mission in Changping City. In this operation commission, Luo Yan has earned 10,075 contribution points. If the remaining points are added, Luo Yan only has more than 10,000 contribution points left to get the record of Heavenly Fire. He clenched his fists, confident that he could exchange the record of Heavenly Fire in this operation commission. Everyone worked hard yesterday, so I won't accept any missions today. Making money is important, but we also need to combine work and rest. That's what life is all about. Yan Wenbo had just finished speaking when a sharp alarm sounded over the camp, and then everyone's cell phones received the order to attack. Issuing an emergency notice now. A giant beast has been detected heading towards the base. It is expected to reach the warning zone in 27 minutes. The giant beast's spectral signal is red. The matching results are out. The invading giant beast is a high-level Tesu. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.